turn off your Slack. It's after hours, people. Right in the Golden Globes. What's up, fellas? Happy New Year. 2025, the future is here. It's not as futuristic as we thought it was going to be.
How futuristic is it?
Oh, man. I think we went backwards. I think we hit reverse. Have you ever been in drive and then go to reverse without hitting the brakes? That's 2024.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious, are we going to somehow do a U-turn and go backwards into 2025 where we're going backwards and forward at the same time?
I think they call that retrofuturism.
Is that the term?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It feels like that. We fell backwards over the finish line. But it's a year disclosure, right? Not for facts, but there's a year disclosure for aliens. This is it. This is the year.
Is that what Project 2025 is?
Yeah. Supposedly.
I've heard that's part of it. Okay, I don't know.
The drones?
I'm just tuning out everything. Pretty much from starting yesterday till I'm not sure when.
Yeah, I love when people say, "Do your research," and you're like, "Where?"
Google?
Like, where are you gonna do your research?
Facebook.
What happened to the freaking book reports when we had to cite our sources?
Yeah.
Was that all in vain? Did I waste an extra page of construction paper?
Yeah. Folks don't even know how to fake that now.
No, they don't.
It's all written by AI anyways.
It is. It's unbelievable. ChatGPT is just like fighting with itself now. People do chat, like the AI is like built into your text and like, hey, you kind of sound like a dick in this text. You want me to clean that up for you? It's like, what?
And why does it give it to me every single time I text?
B Rose is here.
I am the commander.
All right, I did not step on your line.
Finally.
That was my goal. Oh man, so yeah, we're here. We're going live with our best of 2024. It's always
Are we late with this?
I don't think so.
Is this? Are we
I
behind?
feel like everybody's
I mean,
too
technically,
early.
There's something could have come out the very last day, and it could have made the list. So it's a good thing we waited.
That's
Okay.
true. I mean, Spotify Wrapped came in like October, right? Like during Halloween.
Right.
So I feel like we're right on time.
Okay.
LinkedIn has their own version of Wrapped. It's a LinkedIn. It tells you what you did for the year.
Here's all the jobs you didn't get.
Yeah,
Unlinked.
unlinked.
Yeah.
I liked B Rose. What was your tagline that we should have trademarked for the end of year? That's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, right? Boom. So last week was Martini, and this week that's a wrap. But yeah, we got. It's always a good year in films because what happens is when there's shitty stuff in the theater, it forces you to go elsewhere to find good stuff, and people are making good content. That's the biggest secret that people are in denial. Like there's nothing in theaters except comic book movies, and that's so far from the truth. It's just that's all the marketing ones that you're seeing. But there's some decent movies that don't have a marketing budget that are out there. You just gotta try harder.
Some people don't ever even walk to like the end of the theater. Like they've got the smaller ones at the end of the hallway.
Yeah, that's right.
Where they play the indies and the foreign films and the Bollywood stuff.
That's
So
right.
they usually don't get past those first two theaters.
The Fathom events.
Exactly.
There's like, oh, I've never been in this theater. Like, yeah, they didn't fully upgrade the seats,
Right.
but that's okay.
There's no trash cans on that side of the theater. There's like the discarded extra butter dispenser that doesn't work.
Half the seats are missing their foam.
Right.
I love those theater. I don't know why it just makes me. It gives me a cool feeling, but an eerie feeling when you go to a theater that's so big and you go to the other side and it has a giant concession stand that looks unused.
Yeah.
And just empty, but looks brand new at the same time.
I've never seen those active again since I don't know when.
I mean, to quote Analytics, I don't think they were ever active before.
No, I remember the second concession stand being
Oh, you did?
active, yeah. Like a long time ago. When that was a new thing, when Cinemark Front Row Joe was on top of the world.
Yeah.
That extra concession stand was like the secret. It's just like, oh, let's not stop here. Let's go to the second one back there.
There's no line back there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no
At the fork.
That's
at
right,
at the
the
fork
line-
in the hallway.
there's no line back there. I forgot. Oh, you're right. That was there.
And it was nice too because if you bought the larges and got the free refills, you could just pop over there, get your refill, and not have to go back up front. You could just pop out the exit.
This sound like we're like nursing home chat here. Right? We're dating ourselves so much.
We're talking about theaters, man. We got to keep them someone. It's kind of like you never die if somebody's always thinking about you. So you got to talk about it to keep it alive. And
Coco.
you wander around and you're like, wow, I wonder if anyone still throws a party in that party room at that movie theater. You can tell that it's just like you still see some old pizza stains on the ground. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were the days.
They
But
got
yeah,
the bad dudes machine that doesn't work.
Dried pepperonis in the corner.
Right.
be that as it may, even with the theaters being aged, the theaters still show some good stuff. So today we'll be talking about the best of 2024, not only at the theaters, but the home stuff too, right? You guys got stuff that's directly just home or streaming?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. Home is doing just fine.
Yeah, home is no problems.
Theaters need a little help, I think.
Home is a lot more affordable.
Yeah.
It really is. I think we take for granted it's just like, I mean, I think all three of us are not afraid to go to a movie by ourselves, but there's people that won't do that.
Yeah.
And then there's some people who can't do that. Like,
And there's some people that shouldn't do that. Because that's one of the negative things, too, is going to a movie and you're like, I'm ready for this. And then someone who's never been to movies before in their life sits next to you and it's just like, ugh.
I won't tolerate that.
Yeah, I'll just
Just be
move.
like, I gotta move. I move. We're moving. One of us is moving.
Oh man, what a year! What a year! So we have some specialty award categories, if you will. So, B Rose Geek Commander, since you're the guest, welcome back. By the way, I know you've been planes, trains, and automobiles just to get here. Like last time I saw you, you were like it was snowing on you, and you were just like had no interest in doing any kind of skiing or snowboarding.
No, I'm too old for that nonsense. Homie, don't play that.
But it looked cool. That was the last time I see you, so I'm glad you made it out of the White Devil. Now you're dealing with the other White Devil in Austin, which is known as Cedar. So yeah, we'll start with you. I don't think in any particular order. Mario's got it already queued up, and he's quicker than a hiccup. He'll hit that button as soon as you tell him that first award you want to present.
I mean, I don't know which one. Which one should we start with?
Let's go with the biggest surprise. You got a biggest surprise? Do you have that in one of yours?
I do. Hold on, I'm gonna bring up my notes real quick here because I had to
Wait,
make
what
sure.
what category is this, Jeff?
We're going to do the biggest surprise. Let's start with that.
It's best surprise.
Best surprise.
That's what it was.
Bestest surprise. You had one queued up, or I can go.
No, sorry, I was trying to bring up my notes, but it won't let me bring up my notes. But I'm pretty sure I remember what it is, so
All right.
I can just talk about it. So we're doing best surprise, correct?
Best
Correct?
surprise, yep.
All right, so this one was kind of fun because, one of the things I like doing is being taken to a movie, maybe not necessarily one that I want to go to, but just because, it's there and it's something to do. And this year, I remember seeing a trailer for this movie, and I looked over at my daughter when we saw it, and I was like, this looks like it's going to be great. And I was like, but, especially with these types of movies, it can be really hit or miss. Went to the theater, saw this, absolutely fell in love with it, was ready to buy it, on demand right then if I could have.
Oh, that's a good feeling.
And I was just blown away by both the quality of everything in it. And so my best surprise for this year is going to go to The Wild Robot.
Oh.
This movie is freaking beautiful to look at, first off. It is an amazing looking movie. And then it's so well done. The story, like I said, the animation, but even like the cinematography, the shots that they do in this are just mind-blowingly good. The voice acting is fantastic. And just all in out, just an amazing story that I wasn't really expecting from the studio. I mean, from the director, though, you should have kind of guessed it because he gave us, How to Train Your Dragon and all of these other great movies. But it really just kind of came out of nowhere and shocked me at how just amazingly good it was. And I didn't really know anything about the source material. I've never read the books that they're based on. But man, it just blew me away. My daughter and I were talking about it for like days afterwards. And then we've watched it at least 4 or 5 times since it's been out on demand.
This played at Fantastic Fest this year, which was surprising because I thought this is like a very mainstream movie.
Yeah.
But they generally don't play stuff unless it's got some sort of
Girth,
unique,
substance.
some sort of a unique angle to it or something. So I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that you love it so much, but I think that I never went to see it because it felt like it was going to be that usual, we're doing Iron Giant again. Here's what we're doing. We're doing Iron Giant, Wall-E, Crisscross kind of a movie. But I've heard several people say that it's awesome.
Is that, so it kind of moves you, would you put it up there with Wall-E, that animation that moves you?
Honestly, I probably would, and it's actually a pretty apt comparison. I mean, a mixture of Wall-E mixed with the Iron Giant is... It's not the most unique story ever told because it does have some of those other elements into it, but most movies have something from that. But this one specifically has a really unique kind of hitch to it, that really hit me, especially, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but being a parent, this movie hits so much harder than it does for someone who's not a parent, but it's still good enough to where you can enjoy it. But being a parent specifically, this movie hits in a way that's really just feels personally attacking, but it works so well.
I don't think there's a bad thing when you say it's the not most unique story, because I think the whole William Hurt is just like they're all the same stories told in different ways.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes you can find a way that if you have that similar feeling, it actually draws you to the movie more when you can have that comparison like that.
Yeah, and it definitely borrows some really good elements from both Iron Giant and WALL-E and a few other movies, but it borrows the best elements and then makes it its own, which is kind of what you want. You want people to borrow and improve upon or adapt in their own way.
Who does Lupita Nyong'o play?
She plays the robot.
Oh, she plays the robot.
So she's a robot, and she's fantastic. I mean, I've always loved her voice anyways.
I love her so much.
But she does a really good job, almost kind of what, I believe it was Steve Adkins who did Baymax for Big Hero 6, does a really good job of being a robot with personality. And so, yeah, she's phenomenal. I mean, Pedro's in it as well, too. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal, Mark Hamill, Ving Rhames, Bill Nighy. That's a stellar cast.
Yeah, it's a great little cast, and they've all got nice little characters that they play. And I mean, it's one of those movies where you're like, oh, it's a movie about a robot and a bunch of cartoon animals, but it's such a good movie, and that's why I put it as best surprise, because it really did kind of surprise me how well it was done and how much I liked it.
Oh man, now I'm getting a little bit of FOMO. Mario, wasn't this one selling out at Fantastic Fest? I know we were on the fence of whether we want to see it, but I feel like they sold out fast too.
I think they did. I mean, I remember it. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I know people were loving it at the festival, and that's probably your most critical crowd you're going to get for something like this.
Yeah,
angry nerds, and people were really liking it. I haven't gotten around to see it. Is it streaming yet?
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure if it's streaming yet. I've got it on demand, but it might be streaming already, or it's close to it probably.
Yeah. We'll get into this in a little bit. Yeah, but you spoke right to me when you said I wanted to buy it instantly. That's the sign. And I told you that, Mario, right when we opened it. It's just like when you're sitting there in the movie, you're like, I have to own this.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to feel it, not that you're going to catch it.
Yeah.
But you have to own this. One more on, did Lupita, like, with the robot, does she, like, speak? Like, is it, like, English, or is it, like, Deborah Winger and E.T., where you didn't even know it was her?
No, that's part of the thing. Is it's not even like it's not like Vin Diesel in Iron Giant either. It's fully articulate robot.
Okay.
But it very much like Baymax. It's got a very she does a really nice job of making it robotic, but also have like personality where it flows, and she's got a nice little tone to it. But it's very, you can tell it's her voice, but it's not her typical voice. She's got a very defined way that she does the character, and so it works really well for that.
Man, she's just mesmerizing. Not only obviously she's gorgeous, but also just I feel like every movie she's very magnetic. Like, you just get drawn to her. When I think it was Black Panther where I first saw her, and out of all the characters on Black Panther, she's the one that I just kept like gravitating to, just because of her skills, if you will. Good pick. Man, I wish we would have told you this before. This feels like it would have been a nice Christmas movie to enjoy. Not the whole, is this a Christmas movie? But sometimes you just want to have something that you feel. That's what the movie, you want to feel something. So this sounds like that would have done it. All right, good pick. Mario, you want to go, or do you want me to go?
You go.
All right. So for me, the best surprise, and Mario, I think this is going to be no surprise because you're the one that kind of led me onto this, was Strange Darling. We were just talking about how you want to go into a theater and you want to be like moved. And Mario was all about like Dinner in America, like, and this was the next big role for Kyle Gallner. Is that how you say his name?
Kyle Gallner. Yeah.
Kyle Gallner, and just like there was just something about this movie that you told me, do not watch the trailer again. Just kind of go in there and not know what to expect. And the best part about this, there's so many great things about this movie, but the trailer was in on it, which is what a trailer should do.
Yeah.
Like if you watch this trailer, you're already being primed for the experience. Where other ones are just like, come see this, like look at this, ooh, flashing lights. The trailer is part of the story where it kind of lures you in. Like the more you invest in the trailer, the more you're going to be taken on the journey that they want to take you. And also they do the not linear storytelling. And that kind of sets you up too.
Yeah.
But like there's this one little clip in the trailer that's really all you need to watch. And then it's like that literally is the click, 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 click of the roller coaster. And then you go there and all your expectations are just like completely all over the place. I still like, this should be spoiler free zone for eternity. Don't ever ruin this, because if you just stumble on this, man, you're going to just be so shocked. And that's so great. Like a lot of movies just paint by numbers. They don't really do that anymore. And this one did the complete opposite. And it turned everything on its head.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I forget the director's name. But Giovanni Ribisi was on the camera.
Oh yeah. He was the
actor.
TP.
Yep. And, I thought it was a bit, the one part that just jumps out at me that I just like, why was that in there? But under the title, it says shot in 35 millimeter. And like, I get it. And I appreciate the enthusiasm for 35 millimeter, but I thought it was kind of funny that they put it under the title.
Yeah. It's like they knew that it was going to be for film nerds.
The thing about why I said don't watch the trailer is because when you get into the movie and you realize what it's doing, which, I mean, essentially, have you seen this, Brian?
Not yet.
It presents the story out of order. That's the twist. So if you see the trailer, your mind automatically starts to put the puzzle together. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's not the trailer plays it as if this were a straightforward linear story, right? So when you get to it and you realize, oh, this is all out of order, your brain immediately starts to solve it. And I was like, don't watch the trailer anymore, you know? Just go in there cold. And then it's such a, like, again, it's such a ostentatious presentation of a movie. The way it starts with that song and that slow motion, it starts with that, big chase, and it's got a very dramatic credit sequence, which I can appreciate. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, we're in the middle of the story now. We're at the end. So the way it's presented is that's what sort of like enhances the reveals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in your head, you think it's this, but it's actually there's some big twists in there.
JT Moynier.
JT
That's
Moynier,
it.
yeah.
But I mean, you got
I don't know. He's done anything else?
Something in. Oh, what was it called? Outlaws and Angels in 2016, which I did not see.
The young lady in this movie, she was in Reacher, season 1.
Yeah.
She played Roscoe.
The return of Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley Jr.
Yeah.
Which every character in this, and including the two that I just mentioned, when you see them, there's automatically your brain tries to, like Mario said, he tries to solve it. Oh, this person is going to be this. This person is going to be that. Like, uh-oh. And it's just something else when you get pulled into one direction and then all of a sudden it just takes you in a really hard other direction.
And you said Barbara Hershey?
Barbara Hershey, yeah.
This whole time I thought that was Janine Garofalo.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, I think Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey were the 80s Ben Stiller and Janine Garofalo.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why.
And of course, Kyle Gallner is quickly becoming like the biggest or one of the just most reliable sort of indie performers.
Yeah.
And he's creeping into stuff, and you realize, you look back, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Jennifer's Body. He was in Red State with
that's right,
with Kevin Smith. And he's been around for a while. Now he's just really, really starting to creep into the zeitgeist.
I think it was Mark Ruffalo, and he said, geez, does this guy make anything bad?
Yeah.
Like, is he in any bad movies? Because so far, no.
Yeah.
Because after this, and then it was like retroactively doing Dinner in America, and then his opening scene in Smile 2, which I love Smile 2, and I think it had a lot to do with his. I think he shot this in was it I don't know if it was very limited takes. He said it was just the way they shot it. It was shot so fast. He elevated Smile, even though he was in Smile 1, his opening scene for Smile 2 made Smile 2 that much better. Just for the opening sequence, which did you see Smile 2? I don't know if you want the spoiler, but it is what you do in horror movies when you do the sequel, you have to have the passing of the torch.
Yeah.
If you do it right, he does it right, and it was so good. And he's literally, all his movies don't have marketing dollars, so they're like, yo, Kyle, can you just go on social media and start telling people to go to this movie? And he does. He's literally like, yo, you got to go see this. He put out a call to action to for his other movie, Dinner in America. And now it's in theaters where it wasn't even in theaters before. And Mari, you're the one that told me about this. And now it's playing. He said it's playing in theaters until March. That's
Still waiting
true
for that.
social marketing.
Still waiting for that Austin screening.
I know. But yeah, that was a great surprise. I was very happy with that one.
But anyway, yeah, Strange Darling, I think was definitely. You said it was one of your best surprises.
Best surprises. A fun movie if you ever want to the best way to watch this, since the surprise won't be there a second time, is to bring somebody else in and then to watch them go through what you went through.
For sure.
All right, that's all I got to say about that.
Pretty good. All right, I'm going to switch categories here. I'm going to take us over to something for, I think I've got an award for box office breakthrough.
Right.
Yeah, so I think you probably already know what this is. In today's movie economy, how does it work? It's you make a movie for $300 million and you advertise it for 150. So before your movie even breaks even, it's got to make $500 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It doesn't make any sense, but that's
pretty
exactly
much the thing.
what
So
happens.
then you put out this movie and it's just it made $500 million, and it's just, well, that's nothing really. We're just basically breaking even. But in
So it's not Madam Web.
it's definitely not Madam Web. No, the box office breakthrough this year's got to be Terrifier 3.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Look, $2 million budget. I mean, let's start the first one. What they made the first one for $20, and then the second one they made it for 50. And then this one, no, I think the budget on this one was $2 million?
It's absurd the amount of money that this movie made for the
It made
investor.
over $100 million worldwide.
I forgot it was almost 40x of what its budget was, which is unreal. But we kind of felt it coming.
I think the internet definitely, and mind you, no advertising dollars spent on this.
No,
This was all advertised online organically.
that's the best for horror movies, I think. Right, the word of mouth. Back in the day, it was just yeah, my friend's brother who lives in the basement, he's kind of creepy. He told us about this one movie and we're going to go see it. That's Terrifier.
Yeah.
Well, the meme culture really took off on this too, because I haven't seen it, but I also haven't seen the first two because I'm not a huge horror guy. But you couldn't go online and not see that face everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's sharing it all over the place.
And it's already, and the thing is, it's deeply embedded in the, what is it, the
Meme culture?
Halloween decorations culture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And now the Christmas.
So you go to Spirit Halloween. It's all over the place. Hot Topic. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And then this third one comes out, and like you said, even folks who aren't normally into horror were just getting curious. It's what's this Terrifier all about? I should go see it. Should I see it? And you don't. If anybody ever asks you that, you don't really say yes. It's should you see it? Well.
No, yeah, 100%. You have to know your audience before you recommend this movie.
Yeah.
Let's take the kids out. It's a good holiday movie.
Yeah, you can't just tell your boss at work to go watch this or something. It's just what it's not for everyone. So, but I think it's definitely cinema. It's pushing the boundaries of what's filmable and
It's
presentable.
very much so. Like, it'll make you squirm. This too can be the movie that you go to see with somebody just to watch their reaction.
All 100%. I don't know. Yeah, I never went to the theater again to see it after the Fantastic Fest premiere that we went to, because I couldn't get anybody to go with me. And I'm just like, I know I'm going to watch this again at home, so it's like whatever. But you want someone to sit there next to you, so when someone gets a chainsaw in their rectum, it's like, what do you think? What do you think? How did that make you feel?
Well, now it's spoiled.
Yeah.
You know, my son was they were talking about this in this film class, and I was very much, even though, you know, he's old enough that he should be able to handle this, right? And there's still that part of me that he's like, man, everybody's talking about this movie Terrifier in film class. I'm really curious. I really want to see it. And I'm like, well, it's just like, finally, I was just like, okay, I'll go with you. Let's go do this. And yeah, it really throws you. I mean,
he's grown now.
Yeah.
But in my head, I picture you in the theater looking over at your son, and he's like a toddler or something.
yeah, exactly.
Well, think about 10 years ago. Would you ever have thought, hey, all the kids in film class are talking about Terrifier 3?
Right. Exactly. It's just completely different. Like Mario said, it is art, it is cinema, and it's very much so worthy of everything it's doing. It's gonna, I mean, if this was made in the 90s, I mean, if you were trying to cancel, you know, back in the day, those horror movies, this is definitely the Texas Chainsaw Massacre feeling of just like people are just like really, really stunned of what they just seen, right? And
well, even more so, because Chainsaw Massacre in and of itself is not that violent.
No.
It's just all vibes.
Yeah.
This is all violence.
Yeah.
And the vibes get more comfy. It's like you're just almost more at ease with it by the third one. You know? 'Cause
Yeah.
You know what's coming.
You know what to expect. Yeah, because the first one still, to me, out of all three of them, has the worst unaliving scene in the history of cinema. To me,
absolutely.
Still.
Yeah, it does.
And I know they had other bad ones in two, and even in this one, but that one still was the one, like, you never forget your first. And I was just like, I can't believe that I just seen this.
I don't think that will ever be topped.
I don't know if it can be.
Yeah.
I did see somebody do a Scooby-Doo rendition of it, so they
Sure.
animated it, and I was just like, oh, man, it just still takes you back.
Yeah. But,
yeah, it was you were right. It's $2 million budget, and it's over 100 now, right? Because at this writing, they had it at 90, but it's well over 100. It's their highest grossing unrated film of all time.
Yeah. And again, you got to emphasize this: no advertising.
No.
No advertising dollars spent here. You know, usually a movie will just spend half its budget
on
advertising.
I think they need to do a marketing study on how this was so effective. Like you said, B. Rose, you're not even a horror guy, and you've seen it everywhere. You know, Anthony's saying that, you know, just it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And they didn't do much to make it happen. It's just like, how do you make something go viral like that? I don't even know.
I feel like there was this tweet I saw that I think I put it the best. It's like, now that this happened, every studio wants to make a Terrifier 3.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is nobody ever wants to make a Terrifier 1.
Right. Oh, man, you are here.
Whoever tweeted that.
Listen up, Hollywood, man. That's the worst. I've always hated that nobody wants to be first. Everybody wants to be second. Yeah. And that's what happens when you have non-creative people that have control of cash.
But anyway, that should be I mean, I think that's it's one of the biggest movies of the year just for that fact.
Yeah.
You know, I know other movies have made $1 billion with 10 times as much, but it's just, you can't deny that it's history. I think it's the first unrated movie ever to be at the top of the box office. And it beat the Joker.
Yeah. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Well, you better hurry, B. Rose, because it is a cliffhanger, and Terrifier 4 is coming.
I'm going to have to. I mean, my daughter's been asking, and, you know, she's 13, but she's a little horror fan, but I have to be...
You have to be cautious.
I have to be a little cautious with some of this stuff, because some of it is awful out there, but I end up having to watch everything ahead of time anyway, so I'll probably end up watching it just so I'll know whether or not I can let her watch it.
I don't know, man.
She can't watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. Not there. I don't know. And this is coming from somebody who watched the guy get eaten by a shark when he was 5.
Well, that's the story I was telling today. As I told someone that my daughter's been watching Jaws since she was 5 and cheering when Quint dies. So I'm just like, maybe she is ready for it. Who knows?
Oh boy.
Was she the one that tweeted out, if you watch Jaws backwards, he's the baby face?
She basically, that's how she feels.
Who, Jaws is the babyface?
If you watch Jaws backwards.
The shark is the babyface.
Yeah, because he spits everything. He spits everybody out and tries to get them safely ashore.
Oh, okay. I get that.
After they've already shot him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. I
Good
think the
one.
more you watch Jaws, though, you start to empathize with Quint more than Chief Brody.
That is true. Oh, yeah. All right.
You guys have a box office breakthrough story? No?
I don't have a box office one, but I did do a biggest breakthrough. Last year I did box office breakthrough. But this year my breakthrough was...
Hold on.
I can do that.
I made the thing for you, dude. The biggest breakthrough. What does this mean exactly?
So this was just my idea of, I love... Most of my stuff comes through, through the movies and whatnot, but this one didn't come from a movie. It came from a TV. So that's kind of why I just figured I would do biggest, because it was a huge one for me. Somebody who is not new at all, has been acting for quite a while, and in some really recognizable stuff. But this was the year where she did kind of break through and really hit the mainstream. So my biggest breakthrough is Ella Purnell, who was phenomenal in
I know
Fallout. And also in Sweet Pea. She's had 2 huge
Pea,
hits this year. And then she's been in stuff before. I mean, she is fantastic in Yellow Jackets.
That's where I know her from. Yellow Jackets.
She's great in Yellow Jackets. She does a voice for Arcane, one of the main voices. But I thought the 1-2 punch of Sweet Pea and especially Fallout kind of catapulted her into the mainstream. And especially Fallout, man, being the lead of that show granted that show is... it's 3 storylines that end up diverging together. But she really does kind of hold her own and really kind of play that leading role really well done. She has a nice little innocence in the start of the show that kind of gets eaten away throughout. But man, she just turns in a great performance of what could have been a really kind of a cheesy role. And then holds her own against Walton Goggins and does a really phenomenal job. And Sweet Pea is really great, but not as many people have discovered that. But Fallout was kind of everywhere, and it really did kind of launch her into the mainstream. And I'm excited to see what they do going forward. So she was kind of my breakthrough for this year, where she kind of really got catapulted into the limelight.
And season 2 is a lock, right? They recently announced it that it's a lock.
Yeah,
I gotta commit to that. I've heard good things about it, and hearing you say that, Mario, I don't know if have you seen it?
I only saw the first episode of the series there. I meant to watch the rest. I don't know. I just didn't double back. But the first episode is like feature length. Mm-hmm. It's like an hour
most of them are good,
an
hour long or so.
Yeah. So I mean, I liked what I saw so far. I just haven't seen. I didn't see Yellow Jackets. Luch Lottie was way into that one though. But
that new season's finally coming out too, right? 3? Are they up to 3?
Yeah, they're up to 3 now.
Three's dropping.
Yeah.
Is that going to be officially on? Is that going to be on Paramount? And because is Showtime still a thing, or is it just baked into Paramount now?
It's Paramount Plus with Showtime.
With Showtime, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get it on Paramount. I wonder if they'll get a bigger audience with that, right? Because even when you're watching it, I mean, it has a pretty stellar cast.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal cast, and it's a really good show. And I mean, she doesn't have one of the most. She does have an impactful role, but it's not one of the most always on roles that she has. Because I can't spoil too much of it. But she definitely, she holds her own with some pretty fantastic people. But I didn't know what to expect from the Fallout show, just because, I've played the game, but it's one of those, it's almost like the Lego movie. It's like, are you going to, there's so much to pull from an open world game like that. What's the actual story? And once they announced the cast, it was I was more interested in Walton Goggins, of course.
Right.
But then she she really does a great job of kind of holding her own and making it an interesting character, and it's a great performance, and she's holding her own.
All right.
They've sort of figured that out now, how to make video game movies. It's like not a problem.
For a while, it was a huge
I
problem.
mean, for a while, but I mean, I think now it's pretty much they've got it.
Find talented people who like the game and go shoot it.
Yeah,
Yes.
they've got the formula. I mean, I'm still a fan of Super Mario Brothers '94, the OG. But you know, that one strayed very far from the from the source material.
Street Fighter for life.
Yeah. That one was almost too accurate, the Street Fighter.
I just saw a bunch of Raul Julia stuff with him in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was popping off recently. All right. I think I'm going to jump topics here, and I'm going to go with the scariest movie. And it could have just been the setting, but I'm also going to just rave about this movie as well.
Yeah, go ahead, rave about it. I hear the raving.
The raving. So again, I was in my New Jersey era, right? And I was in the Mario. I used to send you photos of the micro theater I was in, where it's only like 20 seats, and I happened to and you had to walk through this really shady part of the train station to get to the theater, and it's like go through the back door, and I was like the only one in there.
Yeah.
And then I just happened to walk in and see The First Omen. And man, The First Omen, to me, if you're a fan of this Omen, this, I think, was a perfect prequel, which is very difficult to do, to make a perfect prequel for a movie that came out in the 70s. That First Omen was one of those movies that I probably watched when I was too young, like we were just talking about, even though it wasn't like bloody or anything, but it had a lot of imagery that really would stick with you. Like, you're not going to look at, Rottweilers, the devil dogs the same again. The name Damien was never the same again after The Omen. So this was kind of hallowed ground, and this is right around the time, and ironically, the same theater where I saw the sequel to The Exorcist, which sucked. But this one, man, to try to follow up something, the vibe that is like a 70s horror movie. You guys know what I'm talking about. When you're watching something from then, everybody's smoking, everybody's hair looks weird, the cars look beat up. But now they took it even another one where it's just that whole being in another country, that gothic feel. And now and it has a twist too, but that I won't bring up here, but it also not only has a cool twist that you're not going to see coming of how Damien was born, and you did not expect that at all, but it also has, you guys are familiar with the nanny from the original Omen of the "Look at me, Damien, it's all for you." Like, they did what people are like, oh, they just did the same thing. No, it was kind of an homage. It was kind of like a forthcoming of what is going to happen. And I don't know if Mario, if you know the face of the girl that was on the ledge in The First Omen, and I think she made a lot of posters. She had her hair looked wet, and she had like really bulging eyes, and this was from The First Omen, and that one just like really sticks with you. But there's a scene in there where it goes completely silent. So you're to the point where it's silent, where it's long enough that you don't know if the sound is broken. And like I said, I'm in there with like two other people, and it's completely pitch black, and then that girl's face just like slowly starts to fill the frame, and then it's blurry, and then it's there, and then it's looking directly through your soul. And the only other person that did this to me was Art at home in that post-credit scene for All Hallows Eve, where when the character, especially the antagonist, looks at the camera, they feel like they're looking at you, like it's a very personal attack. I saw something recently where Jack Nicholson's trick in The Shining was to just, his eyes would dart over, look at the camera real quick, and then come back. And I guess that was a trick. I don't know if he was told to do that by Kubrick or not, but I didn't know what that meant. And then I went back and I watched, and yeah, he kept looking at me, and I got it. But this girl was staring right at you with no sound in the complete darkness. And to me, that's like true. That's like primal horror, not like there's no soundtrack to help make it feel scary. There's no juiced up Foley. There was nothing except her. And then you couldn't even tell it was a face. And then you realize it was the same face for the girl that jumped off the ledge, and it just like terrified you. And then, yeah, that's it, man. Her face, when that face was in complete pitch darkness looking at you, and I guess maybe because she has no eyebrows, I don't know what it was. When she was looking at you in that theater and you knew she was already gone, you're like, wow. So to do all that, okay, now I'm scared. But then the way they shot the end, and they really do, like, if Mario Machete Cut was to get his hands on this, he would say, watch the first Omen first. Watch the first one first, because that's how well it dovetails perfectly, just cuts ahead right before the first Omen, where it makes sense to watch that first.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's a really nice trend in prequels, where they're really making the effort for it to fit as a prequel, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think ever since, what was it, the Star Wars prequels?
Rogue One. I was gonna say Rogue One.
Yeah, everybody's like, it doesn't make any sense. These look so much more high tech than the ones that come after, you know? Ever since then, I think they try to make, like, you know, like, what was it? Halloween 2, Halloween Kills, right?
Yeah.
It had that prequel scene with the
yes,
with the fake Donald Pleasance,
yeah,
which was not AI, it was just an actor.
Yeah, that I did enjoy that.
But that kind of stuff, yeah, I can appreciate that. I didn't get to see, just didn't see this one, but I think I definitely need to run this up. I've got a queue, and I'm making it part of my New Year's resolution to watch more movies. And you say, but you know, if you're watching, you're like, oh, you guys obviously watch a shit ton of movies. I could tell. But there's way more now.
There's only so much time in the day to try to keep up.
Well, and also now you've got the competition of social media, YouTube, video games,
Yeah.
you know, all these other things.
Both, I think streaming series that you binge, it competes with films now, because I'm like, oh man, it's Friday. I want to watch a movie. It's just like, well, you know, you just watch 3 hours of Squid Game. That's kind of a movie.
Yeah.
Well, also too, I found myself, because you know, like sometimes it's just so dark and dreary out there. I end up watching the stuff that I love to watch. So it's like the comfort movies. I rewatch so many of the movies I've already seen just because it's comfort food, and it's almost like it's almost daunting to try something new.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can totally appreciate that, for sure. I mean, I think we're adapting to watching short form content. You know, it's almost getting harder and harder to get folks to commit to a movie.
I know, and that's why, like, you know, for you two specifically, I take your recommendations into account, because it's a leap of faith, and for the most part, I don't trust marketing. Right. I need somebody that kind of like knows like the sensibilities, or you know their sensibilities a bit, to take that into account when you're ready to take that leap, because there's just like, man, I can just watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again and be completely fine. But we're chasing that dragon. We want another movie that we can go continue to do that with. So
give me a movie that's been cut into 127 TikToks.
Folks will do it.
They will do it. All right, Mario, what's the next award category?
Well, I got a biggest breakthrough as well. Can I do a biggest breakthrough?
Yeah.
Did I do one of these? I don't remember. I did a box office.
No, you did a box office. You did the biggest.
Breakthrough. Yeah.
Okay, that's the biggest breakthrough for me. Honestly, I just think this is the year of. Well, I told you, you know, I love a New York accent.
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite accent, I think, of all the U.S. accents. Probably most people's, I imagine. Probably the one people from other countries they hear in their head when they hear Americans speaking, right?
Yes.
But I mean, I think the breakthrough of the year, guys, go to Mikey Madison.
Oh yeah. I'm clapping for Mike.
I like, you know, you're just talking B-Rose about the comfort movies. Right now, I've got Anora on repeat. I watched it just before you all got here.
What a great movie. Speaking of Mario having great recommendations, you were talking about this through Fantastic Fest, and it didn't really click to me. And I'm like, okay, I mentally put it there. And man, when I went there, no regrets at all.
Yeah, because it occurred to me when you told me that, because again, it's like Fantastic Fest. So even though the movie, it looks like a commercial romantic comedy, you know, there's a hook. There's something else that's there. And I think if you watch the trailer really only pulls from the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
Have you seen this one, Brian?
Yeah, I have.
You seen it? Great. It only pulls from the first 30 minutes of the movie. And I timed it, actually, last time I had it on. Remember I told you this movie is actually 3 short films.
Yes.
But like the first one is a 42-minute movie, you know? After you have the whole romance and they get married and there's a little the montage at the end. And it sort of ends with them kissing on the balcony and that helicopter shot. It's like credits could just roll right there. And folks would love that as a movie, you know?
Yeah.
And then you've got the second sort of hour of the movie, which becomes the funniest movie of the year. And the more you watch that, the more you just catch things that they're saying that are so hilarious. And you're almost thrown because, like you said, the situation where they sort of, it's kind of like a home invasion. So you feel like there's danger, right? But then you realize that these guys are, I mean, they're not gangsters. No. Literally. And there's like, these are guys who are paid to babysit this spoiled oligarch's kid. And you know that, I mean, the guy, like we said before, Toros, the head babysitter is a priest.
Yeah.
And leaves the middle of a baptism to go do his job.
I love that it's just there this trend of like these antagonists, the heels, being just normal people.
Yeah.
Right? Just normal, like you said, they're just trying to do a job. Even the what's his name? Igor, even the muscle. Mm-hmm. Is he like the muscle's definitely like he's just like part-time muscle, right?
Right. He's just a day player.
Muscle on the side.
Yeah. He's just a day player that lives with his grandparents.
Yeah. I just had no idea when you told me about this movie, and then I went through movie number 1, Nora Part 1, when I got to Nora Part 2.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much I would be laughing, like my like your abs hurt kind of laughing.
Yeah.
That you had no idea, like you didn't expect it.
Yeah.
And it was also just like not like Home Alone laughing, but it was like, what if Home Alone was played for straight? Because at first you're like, man, that was a lot of sex in that first part, and then to go to what they did in the second one, and just like the hog tying and the way it was man, it was good. Like, how much of that you think was improv?
I think a good bit. I've watched as much behind the scenes as I can on this stuff, and I've followed Sean Baker for a while. I don't know if you've seen any of his other films, but I mean, he's very collaborative as far as like how things play out, and he's not one of these guys who like blocks out the entire scene and says we're going to shoot it this way and that way. It's more like, let's just do it, and I'm going to move the camera around y'all, you know?
Yeah.
And lets it play organically. And again, this is like, I mean, it's a big Oscar movie, but this was a small movie, and they were doing things on real locations, like the when they're looking for Vanya, and they're going into restaurants and they're going to parties. That was not a set.
Yeah, those were not actors. Did you send me that they weren't even actors?
They were just going in there and like filming, and like just like doing a Jackass style. You know what I mean?
Because there were people that were confused. Like, we just told you we don't know where this guy is. Why are you asking us?
Asking? Yeah.
That's what made it great, and I think that's why it just like your brain knows. I was like, okay, this is a shoot. This is real.
Yeah, you can just feel that this is not a set. This is not staged. You can tell when someone is a non-actor in the movie, right? There's just that little bit of, you know, I don't want to say they're just too ugly, but like there's just a look.
The face
You can
for
tell.
radio.
They're not made up to be in a movie. You can just tell. You know what I mean? They're not dressed perfectly. Their reactions are kind of like confused and like understated. But yeah, that stuff thrown into the movie just makes it feel more realistic. And again, then you get through this second part of the movie, which is just screwball comedy. And you get to movie number 3, which is a serious drama for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it ends on such a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
That you are just, you're confused, kind of, you know?
I don't think I've laughed and then cried at the ending since the movie The Last American Virgin. That was the last time that I remember going on such a funny journey and then crying at the end.
Well, that needle drop at Last American Virgin, you can't help it. It's like right on the money. I did my best, but I guess my best wasn't good. I mean, that's like, that brought everybody to tears in 88.
It did. And this one did too. But it was another. Again, this was another movie that like you start opening up to these films and like, why are people saying that there's nothing good in theaters?
Yeah.
Then go support this movie, even though this one was made for $6 million and it grossed 30, and it's gonna get a lot of gold.
Doing great on digital, like it's all over the place. I think once this hit digital is when people really started to see it, because you see the memes and people posting scenes and just arguing about it online, whether or not the ending was really as moving as some people think. Whether or not Honora was a deep character, a lot of people think she's a very shallow, surface level character, which I don't think that at all.
No.
But yeah, I think this is definitely making its way into a lot of people's psyche.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I think she was very defensive in the beginning, and then she opened herself up, and then she was raw and exposed.
Yeah.
And then it almost burned her for it.
And it's funny to me that Sean Baker saw Scream and was like, "This is who I want to cast."
Yeah.
This is Honora.
Like, fine. Like, didn't they like call her agent like right when they got out of Scream?
Yeah. It just seems like such a leap, but I guess that's why he's Sean Baker. That's why he's the director.
Oh, and got to give also the props to Quentin Tarantino on this, because there's a reel that's going around of all the actors that were big, smaller roles in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that are basically now going to be the stars of the next generation. And there's like 7 of them from like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It just started with Austin and then just went down the line, and she's on that list of like, these are the stars of tomorrow that he booked them, and he showed enough of their face where it's just like, remember this face.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely in my top 3 of the year films.
Yeah.
I don't have like a specific top list, but like, it's just a floating circle of films. But this is, like I said, I've watched this already multiple times on video, saw it multiple times in the theater. Every time you kind of watch it, especially the dialogue scenes towards the second half of the movie, you sort of pick up on more nuances in it. The way she's adamant about calling herself Annie the whole movie.
Yeah.
But at the very end, she tries to call herself Honora and gets rejected by the mom and, the oligarch's mom. And just like, you notice the little things like Igor, every time she's having like a confrontation with somebody, Igor's sort of in the corner of the frame just watching.
Yeah.
The whole thing play out.
No, you felt that. You're right, that he was the guardian there.
Yeah.
And again, just being taken completely, because they're kind of positioning like they're going to be some kind of antagonist and criminals, and like, here comes the dad. Now it's going to be, here comes the muscle, and the dad is like, just like laughing, like it's just like, yeah, that's what a guy would do. You're like, did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
So everything about it was a very, 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 very pleasant surprise.
Anyway, I think that's gonna win some Oscars.
Yeah. Hopefully so.
In my opinion.
All right, B. Rose, what you got up next?
This is one I created. I created the award just so I could give it an award. So this is going to be my biggest sigh of relief.
Oh.
And this was for, we all hear about all these movies, and whether it's going to be like a sequel or an adaptation or a remake or anything like that, we're always just like, did it really need that?
Yeah.
Or are they really going to do this? And then usually it's always followed by like, how are they going to ruin this? And so this is for the one that actually I was so pleasantly surprised and happy that they didn't just make it for nothing and screw it all up. And I got to give a shout out to our hometown boy because he finally got his props. This goes to Twisters.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Because shout out to our local Austin homeboy there, Glenn.
Yeah.
Man, this movie was way better than it deserved to be.
Right. I totally agree.
I mean, I love the original Twisters. It's got some faults, but that movie still holds up. And so I was so... When they announced this one and, nobody's coming back from the original and all that kind of stuff, you're like, well, Is it just going to be a crappy remake and all this kind of stuff? And man, I really loved this. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked that they took what made the first movie fun and amped that up even more. And, you know, that first Twister movie has a phenomenal cast in it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so many great people. And, you know, for this one, I mean, there are some great people, but they're fairly, you know, there's not really like anyone who's a star in this movie yet.
Yet, no.
They're all kind of in their, you know, on their breaking points of kind of breaking out. But yeah, man, this one was just a lot of fun. And just, I remember walking out of the theater going like, that was such a fun movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you need every once in a while. You just need something that's fun. But this one also had the pleasure to be good too. I mean, I've watched it a couple of times since it's been out, and it's just a fun movie. I literally watched it on the airport coming back from Colorado. I was like, I've got 2.5 hours. This is on here. I'm watching this. It's going to be a great plane ride.
Yeah, that was another big surprise for me this year. And I don't know if I'm going to just as hallowed ground and talking on about it, but to me, the best way to compare it, Alien was a great movie. Aliens amped it up. Twister was a great movie. Twisters amped it up. I had no idea that I was going to enjoy this so much. Because then your brain starts racing of just like, the marketing people really screwed up not having this release on the 4th of July weekend when there was nothing big that came out. It just like, this was just kind of slapped in the middle of July. And I don't think you realized how great this was going to be, how great Glenn Powell's going to be, that you basically may have had the future you definitely had the future Superman, and you might have the future Batman like right on this. That's a big deal right there. But yeah, it was a great passing of the torch, where the only thing that acknowledged the first one was Dorothy, right?
Yeah.
Dorothy was the only one to let you know that this was in the same universe, and that was it. And it's really hard to take a great movie that's like held in such high regard, like Twister, and then say you're going to do it and make it new, right? It's hard. I think Jurassic Park kind of pulled it off with Jurassic World, the first one, and I think this one definitely was a bullseye on that mark.
Well, it could have been really bad too, because I mean, for what it did, it made a movie that is, you know, inherently part of the same universe as another beloved movie, and yet besides Dorothy, they don't acknowledge it.
No,
and usually that's almost like a catastrophe right there, is not having that fan service.
Yeah.
To kind of bring you in. And so I thought they did a good job of like, you know, dropping a little nugget, but then saying, this is going to be our own thing.
Yeah. Wasn't even in the same state, right? Wasn't it a completely different state too?
I think it's still in Oklahoma.
It is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
but wasn't the first one was in Kansas?
I believe it was in Oklahoma. I thought.
It was? Okay.
I could be wrong.
No, but
Anytown, USA.
Yeah. It's still, like you said, it was very risky the way they did it, of not acknowledging it. You know, Bill Paxton's not with us anymore, but Helen Hunt is, and she could have easily been put in there. But you're right, it didn't have to. Now, if there's a third Twisters, now she might be willing to go back and say, okay, you guys aren't going to screw it up.
Well, that was my thought, was
it.
that when they showed off the cast, and I was like, oh, well, she's playing Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's daughter.
Right.
And that's how they're going to continue it on. She's taking on the family legacy, and they didn't do that, which I thought was nice. And so, yeah, I mean, it's such a great, fun film. And what was nice, too, is there's a few elements that they kind of trick you on, because you start off and you're like, oh, well, they're going to flip this around to where the pure science guys are the good guys this time, and all the randos in their group, they're the bad guys because they have their YouTube channel. And then they split it back again, and like, oh, nope, once again, all the science people are bad. And all the fun people are good again. So
I did not see that twist coming too. That was really fun, because, you know, people on YouTube are jerks.
Well, also, I mean, too, like once you show Glenn Howard, you're like, okay, this is the real challenge. How are you going to make me not like him?
Yeah.
Because if you couldn't do it in Top Gun, you couldn't do it in any other movie. Like, it's like that's going to be the challenge, is for someone finding a movie where he could play like a legit bad character.
He got his whistles and his woots during both. I saw it twice in theaters, and both times he got his whistles and he got his woots, and you're like, okay, yeah.
Which part?
Oh, the white T-shirt and
white T-shirt in the rainstorm.
Yeah. I think they did that, and you got the woo.
Oh, so you heard me.
Yeah, but it's like it's hard to get wifey to the movie that much, but then we're like, oh, I like that movie.
You don't like it when I wear my wet T-shirt.
He is channeling so much energy, right? Glenn Powell is. Here's the thing. He's so likable. I'm sure you guys like him.
Yeah, very
Like, love
likable.
him. But you can't really center why. He is like a little bit of Matthew McConaughey. He's a little bit of the Wilson brothers.
Yeah,
You know, he's anything that's Texas or anything that's ex-boyfriend. It's pretty much he fits all those roles.
yeah.
He's like a blank canvas.
I think he's a great kind of like everyman kind of actor because
Everyman.
like I remember watching him in Hidden Figures, and I was like, oh, I like this guy. Way to go, John Glenn. You're a nice dude.
Got to start here in Austin in Spy Kids 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's going from Spy Kids 3, and then he's going to be Running Man.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Now that's gonna be a real test, or just like, are you gonna buy a ranch with that money, or is this actually gonna be good? But we'll see. I mean, they pulled it off with Twisters.
He's a Texas actor. He's probably going to open a brewery.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good pick.
I had a sigh of relief also as well, honestly, for this year.
All right.
And this is just this is a movie. It's not really, I feel like didn't make a lot of lists towards the end of the year, but I don't know if you guys saw it yet, but Nosferatu.
I did not see
yet.
it.
I
I
cannot
can't
wait to
believe you
see
haven't
this.
seen it, Jeff.
I know. It's just
What
last
is
week. Last week was the void. I got my tickets for tomorrow.
You got it for tomorrow?
Yeah, I got them for tomorrow.
I was just kind of worried that this was going to be...
You were very worried about it. I remember you
Yeah.
saying that you were not 100% sold on this.
Because it's just thought... Because I do like Robert Eggers.
Yeah, he's
But
the Northman, right? You love the Northman,
and
yeah.
the Lighthouse and the Witch. I felt like this was going to be like a very... Like he was going to do a Tim Burton impression here. You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought that he was going to go for that mainstream cred. But this movie is... Like, it's gothic. It's you're going to love it. It's awesome. I think it's my favorite horror movie of the year.
Oh, wow.
In a year
Okay.
with Terrifier 3. And, I mean, as far as, like, scares... There's an early jump scare, and I never go for jump scares. There's an early jump scare that totally got me, and it was surprising.
Wow.
And then the rest of it, you I heard there's you like the stories. I don't know. Like Nosferatu is technically a Dracula bootleg.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, exactly.
They just couldn't make Dracula, so they just came up with an alternate Dracula, like McDowell's instead of McDonald's. And like this is a remake of that movie, which I think the Alamo preview gave us all the info. Apparently, they got the producers of the original Nosferatu got sued, and they had to destroy all the copies of it.
Really?
Yeah, where are you seeing it at?
Alamo.
Okay, so you'll get the rundown.
Okay.
But this movie just it totally worked. And he's not going for Tim Burton. He's not really going for mainstream cred at all. Lily Rose Depp, when she is possessed by the spirit of Nosferatu, it is better than it. It is like rivals Linda Blair in the original Exorcist.
Really? Okay. I've seen that scene just because I seen it on TikTok and getting dubbed
right.
all this different music. So I've seen it a lot.
And believe it or not, this is actually one of the only horror movies that I was like, I need to see this.
Yeah.
You do need to see it. It's great. I heard someone asked me if it was in black and white, and it's like it's actually not. It's actually just all gray.
The way they shot that colors.
Yeah, the movie is gray, and it's in color, but it feels as though it was in black and white. And there's certain scenes where they amp the color up, and it's like your eyes just have to adjust for a moment. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who just. I mean, Craven aside, I didn't see Craven.
I saw Craven.
I mean, he looked great in the trailer, but I just think he's really coming into his own. Going to be a big star. He's really good in it. Lily Rose Depp. I'm talking like maybe an Oscar. I don't know. Maybe she'll get nominated. Like it's really good. She's really good in it.
That would be good. I would love to see this make the kind of story that it's going to be Oscar worthy.
Yeah, and then Skarsgård as Nosferatu. practically like the new Lon Chaney now, right? doing all the monster
The
characters.
new Doug Jones.
And he does this voice, and it's not in any of the trailers anywhere. There's not even any clips.
No, you don't see him in any of the trailers, just a shadow.
The voice he does for Nosferatu, I don't know how to describe it, but when you walk out of the theater, you start doing the impression.
Wow.
You'll feel it. And they do this thing in the movie. Here's another thing I love about this movie. They do this thing in the movie where the first time you see Nosferatu, you see very little. And it's like throughout the movie, they reveal more and more. He's like in the shadows, and as the movie moves along, you get more and more of him visually until the very end when you see them all.
When you get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm excited.
But like,
it was like the biggest. It was like definitely like the second highest horror Christmas release, like on day one, because it dropped right on 12/25.
yeah, and I think that's good counter programming. It's like, folks are sick of their family and they're sick of being stuck watching Elf on repeat. You want to get to the theater and watch a gothic horror movie, and like, it's not, it is bloody, it is violent, it's definitely not in the Terrifier 3 realm, but it's strange, it's unsettling, and it is the jump scares got me. There's an early jump scare, I've already told you, and I bet you it's still going to get you.
All right. No, I fall for jump scares all the time.
Yeah.
So I know I'm getting got.
But yeah, let me know what you think.
Nice. All right. Do you have what did we decide this was going to be? Is this going to be the favorite, or we can even wing this as the Lucha Oscar?
What do you mean?
For this next award, I'm going to pull up.
What is the award?
It's my favorite, and I think that's what you have down. But I found a way to twist it into our Lucha Oscar too. Because
Favorite best thing?
yeah, favorite best thing of the year. And I told you about this because on the way here, I just got a Spotify playlist that only has The Air That I Breathe and Creep. Because to me, this is like the best film of the year. For sure, and that's heavy hitting for the movies that came out this year. But I was blown away by Heretic, like absolutely blown away by this movie. And you remember this was the secret screening and we missed
it. Yeah,
and I don't even know I'm probably glad I missed it because it would have like boiled my brain for the rest of the festival. But the way I caught this, man, it was just everything about like. This is your eyes giving your brain a hand job is really the only way to describe that. Like, if you want to go in here, and it's so simple. It's such a simple presence, right? These two Mormons come knocking on the wrong door. There's only like four. I feel like there's only 4 or 5 actors in this total. But the games that he plays, like Hugh Grant's performance, I wish this could get an award because I said this could have. He's getting the Lucha Oscar because. Think of all the best heels in pro wrestling in the 80s, and they're all loud and boisterous, where Hugh Grant is Jake the Snake Roberts. It's so cerebral what he's doing. Mario, you brought it up. He's like, he never frowned and he never yelled. And that made you feel so unsettled. Like, what is this man trying to do?
Yeah.
It's the simple premise, just like, surprise, I just locked you you're locked in my house, but you never feel like you're in danger, but you feel like you're in danger, but I'm not presenting any danger to you. Oh, you want to leave? That's cool. You can leave at any time. This door says faith. This door says no faith. You saw that's the back exit is here. Just pick the door you want to go to. He's just playing games with them the entire time that these girls that were just like passing their faith, passing their belief along. And he knew, like, it was a setup. Like, he wanted to basically test them. And then when it comes down to let's go mano y mano of what your faith is, and then everything that he brings, I mean, how can he be so cerebral and use a theological comparison that includes Jar Jar Binks and still it's like highbrow? That's how good Hugh Grant was in this. and you still don't know why he was doing this. Like, are you a scientist? Are you theologian? Are you trying to, like, are you a kidnap? Like, what are you? But he's just like, but he always makes you just feel so welcome in this house that you're not going to be able to escape. And even the ending, and I love a good ending. This is like the closest that you've had to, if you're chasing the dragon for an Inception type ending, you're going to get it with Heretic, because you still kind of don't know what happened. That even, and the performances, like I said, just limited actors, but they still knocked it out of the park, where Topher Grace is there. And again, I love when these movies, the trend of the actor or the trailer kind of plays into the experience. You're like, oh, it's Topher Grace. Like, something has to happen because that's Topher Grace. And it's not what you ever expect it to be. I was just like, everything about this movie, and I couldn't get it out of my brain. But the reason we talk about it is just like, he uses the air that I breathe and Creep in one of his many, many great comparisons, parables of just like what you believe versus what you were taught to believe, like where belief really comes from. But this was one of the movies that you talk about, like, I have to own this movie because I feel like I'm going to watch it over and over again.
And I kind of feel like that's going to be one for me. Like, I haven't watched it yet, but this is one of the ones where I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, I am 100% in for this, because I love the whole cerebral psychopath.
Yeah.
It goes back to the Hannibal Lecter and all that kind of stuff. So I love it when you have somebody who's crazy but also crazy smart, and you don't know why they're doing what they do. I absolutely love that. And so I remember literally watching this trailer for the first time at home, and I was like, oh, I'm going to need to see this.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to love seeing Hugh Grant. Like, and I think I think he deserves an Oscar for the way he pulled off this role. I mean, Amari, I don't know if I'm overselling it, but I just feel like he should be in the running.
No, I definitely think he should be in the running. I don't know. Did he get a Globe nomination? I'm not sure. We got the Globes coming up, but
yeah, next Sunday. Yeah.
I honestly, when I saw this trailer, they started advertising it really early. Remember?
Yep. And
we were seeing the trailer for a while, and then I remember it played Fantastic Fest secret screening, and the trailers disappeared for a while.
They did, yeah.
So I don't know what happened there. And then, but to me, when I saw it, it looked like a standard thriller. You know, I didn't think much of the trailer. It wasn't something I necessarily wanted to see. But again, there's that whole thing. It's like, if it plays Fantastic Fest, it's like, oh, there's something else to it.
Right.
But then you saw it and you were raving about it. I was like, and I went and saw it. I said, oh yeah, this is a special movie, because it's the way it's executed and written is like very simple. You know, it's literally mostly three people in a room talking.
Yeah.
That's it.
Man, and that's sometimes you just take that for granted when the conversation is so riveting in a movie that's the movie that you said there's just three people talking, discussing belief and faith.
Right.
And I don't know, like, it's almost like this is going to definitely get put in the horror category, because there's horrific elements, but I feel like there's so much more to that than I would hate for somebody not to go see this film because they're like, I don't like horror movies. Like, no, this is different. This is a movie that is going to challenge you. This is a movie that's going to challenge you to the point where you're going to want to leave that theater and do an inventory of your beliefs and try to figure out where they came from. Like, why do I believe this? Because he takes you on that journey and tries to make you understand, like, where is this coming from? Like, he's trying to go all the way back. Like, he's taking it like way, way back. And to this day, like, I still don't entirely not sure why he did that. But
well, I think it's good casting too, because I think it's a great way of finding, and it's very similar to what happened with Silence of the Lambs. You find a great actor who you maybe wouldn't normally think for that type of role, who kills it. And I'm also thinking about as well when the first time I saw Split and watching James McAvoy.
Oh yeah,
when you find someone it's a nice little trick they can do where you could find someone who doesn't seem that unhinged and almost quite the opposite, and you give them that kind of role for them to sink their teeth into, and they really just knock it out of the park. And to your point, it becomes less of a horror and more of a thriller, but it's almost kind of walking that fine line in between them to where it's like, all right, it's a thriller, but it's way more of a horror than it is just a regular thriller as well, too.
Right. Yeah, you're going to get tricked into the horror elements of just realizing that they're trapped in this house for, even though he says they're not, that they are, because they're going to have to go through what he's built to actually get out of the house. So they're definitely, and they feel very vulnerable. Like these two girls, and it's snowing. Of course, it's snowing, right? It's just like in this house is like it's the last house. They shouldn't have gone. They got invited, and it was almost like, and then you had the vampire analogy of just like, we can't go in the house, but he finds a way to like, it's a reverse vampire analogy, right? Vampire can't come in unless you invite him. It was flip-flopped of just like, well, we can't come in unless there is another woman in the house, and he brings that in. And then when you watch the trailer, there's a little bit of a swerve that's included. Like, oh, okay, I saw this in the trailer, but then you're like, oh, wait, there is that. So again, this 2024 has been the year of these really innovative filmmakers playing with what your perception is of what you expect. If you're just like, oh, it's going to be another paint by numbers, and they're using that against you to entertain you and knock your socks off. At least they did for me.
It's really funny. While we were on vacation, we took a bunch of games to play with the kids, so we weren't just sitting there watching TV. And we got some of those games that are basically an escape room in a box. You get to use it once. And one of the whole escape room games starts off with your car breaks down and you get out and you find a house. And the first thing my daughter was like, I wouldn't get out of the car. That's what I think about every time I see these Cabin in the Woods types movies. It's like, you get out of the car. No, you don't get out of the car.
Sorry, I was hitting the chat there. But yeah, I just kind of, Mario, I know I threw the curve, but I was just like, I was trying to think of, and it just hit me that he was Jake the Snake. He was not the heel you expected. That he's the heel that you're like, he's making you think, and he's making you realize, he's making you question why you're a baby. Remember the angle where Jake the Snake was going through his babyface era, and he's trying to get the Ultimate Warrior to discover himself again, like he kind of lost the eye of the tiger. So then he starts doing all these like cerebral missions with Jake the Snake. That's what this.
I don't remember that.
Oh man, yeah, it was so good. And then Jake was so good, and that's what Hugh Grant is, Jake the Snake Roberts in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie. I think
right.
it's definitely one you can revisit,
Sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
All right, what you got? What you got up, Mario? What you got next?
Well, what category are we on?
Let's see.
Lucha Award.
Oh, that was my favorite best thing of the year.
Oh, okay. Well, look, my favorite best thing of the year. And I feel like this is sort of a broad category, so it can be a little. I'm going to stretch on this one. I'm going to stretch.
That's okay. Stretch it out.
But like honestly, my favorite best thing of the year didn't even come out this year. But honestly, my favorite best thing is Dinner in America.
Oh yeah.
Because look, do you know about this movie, B Rose?
I don't.
Okay, so this is.
There's a poster right behind you.
Yeah, this is a funny, quirky little romantic comedy that dropped in the year of our Lord, 2020. This actually premiered at Sundance, got a huge pop. 2 weeks later, the world shut down, and movie theaters shut down. All that happened. So this movie got kind of lost in that whole thing. Just this year, people started rediscovering it. It's all over TikTok. People posting clips, and I was watching this podcast about Red Letter Media. They were talking about theaters and stuff. They kept mentioning this movie. I was like, "What is this movie? I have to see it." And I clicked on it, and I got it on Hulu. It's like my favorite movie I've seen of this probably this decade. So like genuinely funny and sweet and romantic. I would implore you, if you watch this, do not watch the trailer. Do not even read the description that is on the streaming channel. just going cold. And I think you'll really enjoy it. I think this one, I don't know how old your young ones are. It's borderline for teens. It's definitely R-rated.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's sort of like an R-rated Napoleon Dynamite.
Dude, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's
Yeah.
definitely in the Napoleon Dynamite universe for sure.
Kyle Gallner from Smile, and everything else that we just mentioned.
Strange Darling, yep.
This is, I mean, I know, and he's pushing this all over social media now. Check it out. I love this movie so much that I think, and having no idea that it even existed when it came out is strange for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're usually aware of what's coming out, even like if it's a Sundance Film Festival films. You see those things; they start to trickle through on the streaming channels. This movie just never saw it. Yeah,
This is definitely another one of the ones that you recommended that it didn't disappoint. What a year! I mean, I guess I would put him as the breakthrough of the year because, and like I said, the three movies I just mentioned earlier. I mean, Smile 2, Dinner in America, and Strange Darling were all consumed for me in 2024.
Yeah,
and I too am with Mark Ruffalo. It's like, does this guy do anything bad? Because everything he's in is great, and I feel like we're going to see a lot more from him.
definitely.
That's one of the fun things too. Like that's one of my favorite things is I'll just be like looking for something to watch, and like I'll look through like whether it's Vudu or Hulu or something. I'll just look for something that I haven't seen before, and you can come across gems like that where it's just like where was I when this came out, or what happened? Why did I not hear about this? And it ends up being like a movie that you just fall in love with.
When I got my Spotify wrap up, or not I don't do Spotify, but YouTube did one for me. My music wrap up. The Watermelon song was my top song.
Oh yeah,
of the year, which is
what a great song.
Yeah,
that was definitely got a lot of action on my play as well. Again, that's a good way to put it. It very much has like, it's not as campy, quirky comedy like Napoleon Dynamite, but it definitely has that kind of vibe. Like he created this pocket universe that's the real world, but also kind of not the real world at the same time. But like, is that how people act with this? That's the feeling you're gonna get. I watched this at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. It was one of those just like, oh, why did I get up so early? Oh, I'm gonna watch something, and it still moved me. It's Sunday at 7 a.m.
Yeah, it's solid. I can't recommend this enough. I think it's definitely my favorite movie I saw this year.
Yeah, you were definitely raving, and we'll get that Austin screening.
Eventually.
Yeah. All right, Bureaus, what do you got up next?
I'll go ahead and do Best Show.
Best TV show. This is includes streaming.
Yeah, streaming,
and network shows,
anything like that. Basically any movie release. Honestly, like because I loved Fallout, this probably could have been up there. But there was a show that came out, and I remember the earliest teasers of it. I was like, this show was made for me, so hopefully they don't ruin it. And could not have been more amazed at how beautifully the story or the show is shot, told, acted. It deserves every award, and it's won quite a few so far. So my award goes to Shogun.
Really? Oh, I have not seen it.
It is absolutely just filmmaker level storytelling across the board. It has some of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen. And I feel bad because I compare a lot of shows to it in terms of like, because every show is trying to kind of capture the idea of it. But like, this is literally an ancient Japanese version of Sopranos.
Oh,
it's got so much, like it's got the political intrigue, it's got the backstabbing, it's got, it's just such an amazing story, and it's told really beautifully. But like, there are plenty of great TV shows that have great stories and great characters. But I think what really set this apart was just, God, the cinematography alone on this show is outstanding. It's some of the most beautiful shots I've ever seen in general, but much less for a TV show. It's ridiculous. You can tell how much they spent on this show, and every dollar of it is on the screen, which is nice to see. But we also get Hiroyuki Sanada finally getting a chance to really, like, I mean, he's been so great. Like, he's amazing in The Last Samurai. He's great in John Wick. He's been great in so many things. But getting to see him play this huge, just dynamic character and so involved in the production as well. Like, he's a producer, so he's basically a consultant, like making sure that everything is, you know, completely accurate to the time and the culture and stuff like that. And you really get a sense that not only does he care about it, but pretty much everybody on that set really just cares about making it not only good, but just appropriate for the culture and really kind of giving this story and this culture its kind of time, its moment to shine. It's just, I cannot recommend it enough.
And it was they tried to make it so it was based on a novel, and they also adapted into a miniseries in 1980. But I'm sure they didn't have the budget or the know-how to pull it off like now. But this, you can find this on Hulu, right? One season, 10 episodes, easy binge. Did you watch it like week to week drop, or did you binge it?
Well, I binged it. I knew it was coming out, and the more that I saw the trailers, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to just watch an episode and wait. So I banked a few. I let it out for a couple of weeks, and then I started just binging them through.
That's the strategy. A lot of people are just like, I'm going to wait, which I don't know. I know streamers have been going towards that, and they don't want you to binge as much anymore. Netflix is still the only one that does, but those drops, the trickle of it, so people build it up. But I have not seen this. Mari, have you seen this?
I have not.
It looks great.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about it. I mean, it was on terrestrial cable, right? It dropped on streaming later.
Yeah, it was on FX, I believe.
Yeah.
FX, yep.
Yeah. No, I've heard it's great. It's on my list. I think this one's one that a lot of people check out after the awards shows. After awards season, people are like, what is this Shogun? And we're going to rediscover it after the fact. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good stuff.
I love the comparison of just like medieval Japan Sopranos, right? Or just like if you're the Game of Thrones intrigue that's built in there too for that time period.
It pretty much is that. You get the warring factions, and you get, you know, your anti-hero who's like the one you're rooting for, even though you probably maybe aren't supposed to. You get the whole the royal kind of, you know, backstabbing and things like that, and the whole honor versus duty and just all that. But you see a lot of the behind the scenes, you know, political aspect of it too, of them trying to. It has a little bit of what you see in The Last Samurai a little bit too. You see kind of the political dynamic between all these warring little factions when an emperor is passing and things like that. And so it's just man, it's really well done. And I've always liked Sanada in pretty much everything, because he's one of those actors where you're just drawn to him no matter what. Same way in Last Samurai, even in John Wick, he just has this gravitas about him. And so getting to see him finally lead a show and it be such a good show, and him really have because he is a producer on this, he really has a vested interest in it. And man, you can just tell how much passion he has just for the show itself, wanting to make it as good. Because I mean, he just gives everything his all, and it's so incredible to watch him on screen. He's just got that commanding presence, and now it's just front and center. He is the main guy. He's the Tony Soprano of it, and so you can't take your eyes off of him.
Oh yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, anytime he's in a movie, he's another one that he's just going to steal your focus, no matter what you do. He just adds something. His presence, just being there, adds something. So I can totally see that happening. All right, Mario, I was struggling because I was going to do my best TV show, but we can go ahead and do this. But it's going to be a tie.
You have two TV shows.
I have two TV shows, and it's a tie because it's two TV shows that's similar to the movies that just stick in your head that you just can't get enough of. But I'll start with the one, I think we've already talked about this before. I got to start with to me, the TV series that changed what it is to make a superhero TV series, and that's The Penguin. I just like that one. If Colin Farrell doesn't win an award for this, that's going to be a complete injustice. But it's like every character in this series just plays it so well. But it changed to me. I think James Gunn probably saw this and was probably like, damn it. Like, even though it's going to be great for DC, and he's calling it Elseworld, so you're allowed to make movies outside of his series, but it retroactively made me like the Robert Pattinson, the Batman, even more, which I liked it fine when I went and saw it, but it didn't stick with me. Like, I didn't sit there and think about it other than when I was like, man, I'd never seen a movie where Batman lost, basically. But then I saw this series, and then it made me look at that in a whole different light. And this also felt very, very cinematic, for sure. Let me see. So the guy who played the kid, there's the two people, and she made the poster, was Kristen Milotti. That was another one. She definitely could have been in the running for the breakout, because as soon as her character was introduced, you're like, whoa. Everything about her in the screen made you really think. The Falcons, when you say the Falcons in Batman, they're like the throwaways, because they're not part of his rogue gallery, right? It's just like they're always the background players, but they brought that front and center, where to me, this was HBO's return of The Sopranos. And then, I don't know how to say it, Renzi Felice, the kid who played Victor Aguilar, to me, is also that I don't know how he can be rewarded for what he did to go toe-to-toe next to the Penguin and make you care about somebody who could have easily just been a throwaway character. Colin Farrell is the shining star of this show, but Sophia Falcon and Victor Aguilar are the ones that people will continue to talk about after this show, where you're seeing memes about both of them. You were seeing TikTok reels about both of them, especially the journey that they went on. So there's no way you can talk about the best of 2024 and not mention The Penguin.
I will say it's a shame of mine yet. I haven't watched this yet.
Oh,
because
man.
I've been
Jeff, I think you're the only one who watched it.
I know.
Oh no!
And I'm shocked.
This one I've got it. It's queued up. The only reason I haven't is because I was watching a show with my daughter, and we were trying to finish before the end of the year. So everything I was doing was dedicated to finishing the show with her. But the whole time I'm watching all these people watch and rave about the Penguin, I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to get to watch this show. So
I had no expectations from this show too. Like, I don't even know who told me. He's like, wow, that first episode was, it was Wayne, friend of the show. He's like, bro, have you watched The Penguin yet? And I was like, no, not yet. I'll get to. He's like, watch The Penguin. And that's all he said. And I'm like, oh my God. The best use of the song 9 to 5 since the movie 9 to 5. That's the pitch. That is the pitch that you would have never imagined that this somehow fits in the universe. And they take all these fantastical elements of Batman that you think, oh my God, that's going to be very Tim Burton. It's going to be very cartoonish. And they ground it. Like, they really ground it. Like, the only reason he's the Penguin is because he limps. Like, that's it. That's it. It's just a dumb nickname that he got when he was a kid. So do yourself a favor and definitely watch The Penguin. But I also got to mention this show because, to me, Apple TV, Apple Plus is doing what HBO was doing in its golden era. And when you felt the whole of Ted Lasso saying that they were done and they started showing the trailer for this show, and you're like, I'll give it a shot. And then I got pulled into Shrinking. And Shrinking is phenomenal. And you will blaze. Ted Lasso and Glow were always the easiest binges for me in Cobra Kai. I would put Shrinking right up in there because I've never seen in an ensemble where every single character matters. Every single character is entertaining. They don't have any like, oh, I don't like that character. They don't have that. And there's like 10 of them now. Like, even this year, they elevated some of the other characters. Like the guy that was the Jump the Shark, Darcy Ted McGinley is in it, and just like as the husband, and you're like, he's fantastic in it. Like every single character. And Jason Segel, to me, he's kind of like Vince Vaughn, where like you know what you're getting, and when he's in there, which another shout out to Bad Monkey, when they're in there, you can tell they're improv, that they're just like that's who they are. And he does it, but they surrounded him with a cast of people other than Ted McGinley that you probably, and of course Harrison Ford, that you don't know, and they play off of him so well that you never, the dynamic duo that you never knew you needed is Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. Like to see Harrison Ford ply his trade as he's Indiana Jones, he's Han Solo, he's in all these huge movies. To see him as, an elderly, psychiatrist with Parkinson's, you're like, oh, he's trying to get an award, and he's just so freaking good about it. This show, like, I did what you did. Like you said, I was like, I know I'm going to go through them too fast, so I'm going to ball up as many as possible and then blaze through them, and you just can't stop with shrinking.
Yeah.
You saw B-Rose?
Oh, yeah.
Mario, you have not seen it yet?
I haven't, no. Nor the Penguin.
No.
So, I don't know. Here's the thing. Is like I thought that I could bring myself to watch it and have the intestinal fortitude to just say, okay, I'm going to watch the Penguin now. I did enjoy the Batman. The Battinson was, I think it's a good take.
It is, yeah.
Can't wait to see more. But for some reason, my brain will just not let my heart buy in to a Batman series without Batman in it.
Yeah. Well, no.
It just feels like a ripoff. Like I can't, like that Gotham show?
Yeah.
I could never get into that. Whatever. Gotham City Sirens and things like that nature.
Yeah.
I just can't. No Batman. It's just like, I don't know. I just can't do it.
Well, I'm trying not to spoil. I'm trying not to spoil at all, but just the difference.
I'm not going to watch it. It's never going to. I'm going to watch the Screen Crush breakdown before Batman 2, probably.
I think that the difference between those other shows you mentioned and this one is the presence of Batman in Gotham looms in this. Remember the Battinson Batman, that's year 2 Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like you said, he knocks on doors, he doesn't jump through windows when he's there. So
he Ubers to the crunchy.
So, but his presence does loom, and it's this is just the origin story for the Penguin, and it just happens to tie into what other Batman criminals that are coming.
Yeah.
And it has characters that I think these characters, they may have just been created for this show. But I mean, Clancy Brown, Mark Strong, like they have some heavy hitters that are in here too, that I feel like makes it feel like that girth that you need from something that's the Batman. Like to have these guys in there, you're like, okay, I can totally see them in a Batman movie to do it. But it's a shame, and I think Mike, we talked to a friend of the show, Mike. I think he jumped ahead, and he watched the last episode, and it's kind of a bummer because it's kind of like they set up this incredible journey of the Penguin and his mother and Victor, and if you take the time to watch them all, there's a payoff at the end that. Again, it was all over TikTok, so I'm surprised it hasn't spoiled you. Where it'll gut you, and the great thing about this show is where Sony failed, and 2024 was the year of Sony's putting the nail in their coffin of their Spider-Man spin-off universe. Is you can have a compelling show about a bad guy, and they don't have to be a good guy. They don't have to be Venom saving people. They don't have to be Craven didn't have to have a righteous, story. They're heels. They're bad guys. And there's a swerve here that's going to blow your mind. They remind you, oh, fuck, that's right. He's the Penguin. Damn it. But he lures you in, and you knew he was going to lure you in, but you felt it like that first episode, like, okay, we're going on a ride. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why he's a bad guy. Damn it. So do yourself. And they have he's Tony Soprano and his mom is definitely Mama Soprano. They have that same exact dynamic where she's got dementia and she keeps going back and forth and it plays into this story really, really strong, like strong performances, not just by him. Like, I think I'm excited that in two characters, even though two actors already won, but two characters will have gold in the Batman universe, and that's 2025. Like, wow, as much as people hate comic book movies, it's just because I think it's almost like cool. The cool thing to say is I hate comic book movies, and a lot of them are very hateable. But again, I still love comics. I've always loved comics, and any adaptations, I'm always gonna give them a swing. And most of the time they may fail you, but this one did not fail you.
Well, one of my friends mentioned it too. He was like, everyone was really hot on Todd Phillips with the first Joker movie because it was like, they took Scorsese doing Taxi Driver, and they put it in the Batman universe.
Yeah. And
the way he kind of pitched this to me is like, it's like they took Scorsese, but like Goodfellas, and made it a Batman show.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it,
That's
too.
why I was just like, okay, I mean, I loved watching Colin Farrell because he disappears in the Batman movie.
Oh, yeah, you
don't see him in this character. So I was already on board with that, but once they kind of pitched to me, it's like watching the good Scorsese, like gangster type stuff, it just happens to be in the Batman universe. I'm like, okay, I can kind of get behind that.
That's a great way to put it. It's just like if somebody was just to have some kind of amnesia and just dropped on this planet and and it's called a Penguin and they have no idea that it's a Batman character, and they love mob dramas like Goodfellas and Sopranos, this hits all the marks. That's all I got to say about that.
Solid. Again, maybe if this picks up some gold, folks will revisit this one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had trouble buying into it.
Yeah, and I think them saying that it was just like this was going to be a limited series. Like there is going to be no season 2.
Yeah.
And I know HBO is like, bro, we need a season 2. And they're like, oh, can we give you another character? Like, no, we need this. But they don't have to do a season 2. And I would be completely fine with this 6-hour phenomenal long form movie.
Yeah. I think it should have been a movie, maybe. I feel like a movie would have been fine. Like you could make a long film for cable.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll talk myself into it. We'll see.
I get it. It's hard. I mean, there's a lot of content.
There's a lot of competition. I still got to watch Shogun too.
There's a lot of content.
So yeah.
Well, who's next? Do we got any more? Any mas?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a couple more. I'll just do this one because I know you saw it. We have the category of just going through these things. The best action of 2024 sequence, maybe it doesn't have to be a sequence. It can just be whatever.
Yeah.
These are leftover graphics. But I'll just throw this one out there because I know you saw it, Jeff. Best action, and I'm just so into this series of films now. I've seen them all. We saw the first one, third one at Fantastic Fest.
Yeah.
Baby Assassins.
Man. Blue. Yeah, definitely props for that.
Have you watched any of the other ones yet?
No, I have not yet.
So we saw Baby Assassins, Nice Days.
Which is basically the third, right?
Part 3.
Yeah.
Then you can catch parts 1 and 2 on streaming now. And I believe they're on Prime. And there's also a series, which I've only seen the first episode of.
There's a series too? Same actors?
Yeah, same everything.
Wow.
All of them are in it.
It was hard because just cut a promo of like how great Fantastic Fest was fantastic. Like you was sold on it, and there were so many surprises of movies that you never knew you would love. And this was one that I was just blown away of how much I enjoyed it. So, and the action, this was like what'd you call it? John Wick for
Yeah.
Kids John Wick kind of.
It's the action rivals John Wick.
Yeah.
But this is more of a it's like a buddy comedy. You've got two sort of, I guess, because it borrows that whole John Wick universe where there's just a society of hitmen. There's just I guess there's a need for hitmen constantly in these worlds. But it's a little more lo-fi. It's almost like a blue collar office job.
Yeah.
You've got an annoying boss. You've got the cleanup team. Every time there's a kill, you got the cleanup team to bring in, and they're always complaining about the mess you make. And if you don't do kills, you don't get paid. You got to pay your own rent. So sometimes you got to work side jobs, even though you're a hitman.
It ruined your vacation.
And part 3 was so good. You can tell part 2 and parts 1 are definitely smaller budgeted, but part 3, you could probably start with part 3. I don't think it's a big deal. But these parts 1 and 2, Baby Assassins, are on Prime. Just check it out. The action is as good as anything you see Keanu Reeves do. The comedy, it's that very goofy Japanese comedy. The two characters, you just really like them immediately. It's a perfect. This could be a sitcom.
It does have it feels very sitcom-y too.
Yeah, just sitcom. It's like two broke girls, but they're hitmen.
That is a great way to put it.
That's exactly it.
You know what's I mean, obviously, I loved everything about this movie, but John Wick being the action movie, like that picture right there, it's so bright. Everything about it was so vibrant. Like it literally could have been an anime because even the way they acted, the way that they're holding, it's what you would expect from a really good anime. But it was live action, and everything about it was just so bright. And that's really hard to make that as like the part of a movie about a league of hitmen. Like I like the colors, but there's just something about it. It disarmed you and brought you in and let you go on these journeys of just like they start off at the beach and like, oh, we got to go pick up this job. It's just everything about that would just that really disarmed me for it, and it made me enjoy it even more.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And like I said, I love these movies now.
Yeah.
I don't know where you can see the rest of the show. I think it's airing in Japan right now, but the first episode was really good.
Are they rentals on Prime or are they just streaming?
No, they're just streaming.
Oh, they're streaming.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can see. Actually, I think one is on Prime and one is on Peacock.
All right.
But check them out. They're short too, 90 minutes.
Quickies.
Yeah. You can start them. So
that sounds good.
what about you guys? You got any action sequence nominees?
Go ahead, B Rose. What do you got next?
Well, I mean, it's not best action sequence, but it's a movie full of action, so we can go ahead and just tie it into it. So mine's for the biggest movie pop.
Hold on. Yes. Say it again.
For the biggest movie pop.
There it is.
Yeah.
The Road Warrior biggest movie
Can you
pop.
explain this, John? Explain this kind of
So yeah, it's when the Road Warriors came out, they were the first wrestlers that, like, when they came out, just everything about them made everybody get to their feet and scream. It just like automatically got your energy up. And then when you have it's easier to do in a live performance like a pro wrestling, but when you can get a pop in a movie theater, which is a dark, usually quiet experience, but the film moves you enough to stand or yell or like, oh, that is a pop. Scream.
Thank you.
Yes.
What was your biggest movie pop, B Rose?
So I mean, I think it's probably a given, but I mean, years ago we had the first kind of like huge kind of like that kind of pop moment with the finale of Marvel's Avengers Endgame.
Endgame, yeah.
And then a few years later, they kind of amped it up by not just bringing all these heroes together, but Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yep.
We get it to where they bring in these other universes. And we're like, oh, and you can see these YouTube videos of just the audience reactions from all these countries of people screaming at both of them. And then this year, we really did get like the ultimate version of that with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
And every
100% agree.
single one of these cameos, if you want to call them that, just ignited the theater.
It did.
And it wasn't even, I mean, these were just like the ones on screen are the main 5. But this movie is just chock full of so many great little Easter eggs. And I don't give a crap what anyone says. Some people are going to call it fan service or that it was just popcorn. I don't care. That's exactly what I wanted from this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that they just went all out and even threw in some surprises. Like my favorite moment, I love getting to see, I love so many of the jokes between Wade and Gambit and Blade, but I love the opening shot when we see Chris Evans land. And I don't care who says they knew. Nobody knew that it was anybody other than Cap.
No,
and we're just like,
I
yes,
agree.
Captain America's in this movie. And the second he says "Flame on," you can just hear this erupt. It was funny too because you can half the audience is like, "Oh my God, yes," and the other half is like, "What?" Because they've never watched the Fantastic Four. So that was a great little pop. But once you get towards Elektra and then Blade and then Gambit all coming out right after each other, you can just hear different levels of fandom erupting all in different places because of different reasons. And it was just such a great... Literally, I saw this movie 5 times in the theaters, and every single time it hits for a number of different fans.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. When you talk about Endgame and everybody got that Mjolnir pop, and it was a unique experience. Like I haven't heard people scream like this in a while.
Yeah,
and then it got the same thing with the Spideys all showing up. So I call it what Triple H calls it, right? Is like it's very hard to retire from wrestling because you're chasing the dragon. You're looking for that next fix, and to me, this falls into that chasing the dragon of just like waiting for that Marvel to come up with the pop. Like now it's almost expected that you got to get a pop, and it's tough. Like that, I wanted to be in multiverse and it didn't really happen. But when it happened in here, like Wesley Snipes got the Road Warrior pop. He got the biggest pop of them all. Like when he came out, people lost it to the point where you got to watch it again because you missed the jokes that happened. Like Ryan Reynolds' reaction to Flame On was great, but you couldn't hear it until like the third viewing because people were screaming.
And there's tons of great little, like one of the best jokes in there is between him and Blade when he goes, "I don't like you," and he goes, "You never did."
Yes.
And you miss it because everyone is still clapping and cheering. What I thought was great though is like, one of the things they did is like you kind of expect the cameos like that, or you maybe didn't expect it, but you're not as shocked because you've seen it before. But one of the best ones that hardly anyone recognized at first was the Cavalrine.
Oh, yeah.
Because you weren't expecting to see Henry Cavill show up as Wolverine because it never happened before. But it's another pop. Like once you actually see it, you're like, oh my God. And it's such a great moment that doesn't belong, but it does.
I did not expect, like, you were hoping for the other ones, and like you didn't, like, okay, who's going to show up? That was the one where I was surprised at all of them, but that one was like the sucker punch. Like, wait, what? Like they got Superman as the Cavalrine in there, and the way he handled everything about it, that was so nice to be like, because Mario, you know, I'm very spoiler sensitive, but on these ones especially, like I want to have that feeling, so I just gotta close it off. And that one paid off in dividends. I know a lot of people didn't like the story. They didn't like, I did. I watched it over the holiday, over the void. I did watch it, and it's something that you can just throw on and just watch over and over again. And it's just, to me, Ryan Reynolds did what he was like. He knew the assignment, and he got that Marvel money, and he delivered. And man, so happy for Gambit too. I mean, it pays off for the people who know the story behind that, right? Of like how hard it was for him to come on screen. And then when you see that, you know, you're a meme now. Oh, I'm about to make a name for myself here, like was everywhere for a while. And it was hard to spoil it. It was just like, that was great to see too, man. So everything about like, B-Rose, you understand, we've talked about this before. Why is fan service a bad thing?
I mean, I think that fan service instead of a story can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I think that if you use fan service to elevate your story, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There really isn't. I mean, there's nostalgia is there for a reason, and it's okay as long as you don't make it your entire identity.
Right.
And so, and I feel kind of bad too because, Multiverse of Madness was kind of trying this, and it did a great job with certain things. I mean, but you can definitely tell that the pops that happened in that movie, because we got some great reveals. We get Professor Xavier in the 97 X-Men, wheelchair.
Yeah, the yellow wheelchair.
You get John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. You get some great little reveals, but it just didn't hit the same way. But I think Deadpool and Wolverine really, to Sean Levy's credit, man, he really did a great job of making it an enjoyable story. I mean, just like any superhero movie specifically, there's going to be some plot holes, but they make it so where the plot holes, it doesn't really even matter. You don't really care because of how well everything is done. And going to your point, man, the fact that you can make Gambit, just in terms of the action stuff, look as cool as he did in the cartoon.
Yeah.
I mean, because like watching the fight scene, I'm like, give Channing Tatum the movie right now. I want to see a movie with him, with his, pardon the language, batshit crazy accent.
Yeah.
But see him fighting like that in the way they brought it to life, it was like watching the cartoon.
Yeah.
And so I loved being able to see that. And so like this movie did so much right. And I don't care, again, till he's 90, I don't care. Give me more Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Give me more Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I'll watch 95 of these things.
Oh my God, yeah. That it's yeah, just everything. I completely like I blanked out because I was thinking, oh yeah, that's exactly what they said. They're making 95 of them. But no, I agree. Like if it didn't sacrifice the story for this fan service, it made sense in the story. Everybody kind of expects the jumping around in the multiverses, and that's kind of what you wanted to play with it, right? Like that's the whole thing of like a time travel movie is going to have those time travel like jokes. So, and they even leaned into it, like, yeah, you're going to get that, and we're going to play the Back to the Future theme while we're doing it. So it was like, we know exactly why you're doing this.
It was fun. Like, I think everything you guys say is totally accurate, and I agree with it. I think it's definitely one of the most fun movies of the year. I think that, again, you're right. Story-wise, plot hole-wise, nobody cares about that, because this movie is a comedy. This is 100% a comedy movie based on in the comic world, the MCU. I think it made $1 billion. Here's the thing that I think about this movie that we still have to see. Does this movie succeed by just pissing all over the Marvel universe? And now that this is broken that wide open, can they make a serious comic book movie again that people will actually buy into?
You're right. I mean, this was one
What's
of
up,
those.
Kralax?
This was going to be tough in the sense that, like, having a great wrestling match, and when a wrestler knows it, like, when Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker went to the back, the person who has to follow that, it's going to be tough.
Because we got with 3 Marvel movies on deck, and I know you guys are big fans. I would say I'm definitely a big fan too, but I'm more on the superhero fatigue side of things these days.
The next one is tough, and I think that's probably why there's a lot of reshoots, and I think it has a lot to do with this, because you can't have something as like Deadpool and Wolverine happen all the time.
Right.
I mean, that's what made it special. That was the whole crux of, what I read is correct, between Sony and Marvel.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we need another Spider-Man, No Way Home. And they're like, no, we're going to do street level with this time. Like, no, we need to get Andrew Garfield and, Tobey Maguire back. And like, no, that was just that story. And they're like, no, Sony's just like, give me more. They're chasing that dragon. It's really going to be really hard to follow this up. And next year we got...
Extremely hard to follow this up when your next movie is a sequel to a television show.
Yeah. Oh, Cap Brave New World. They got rid of the New World Order.
That's going to be really tough. And you're talking from like the lineup in Deadpool versus Wolverine against who we think the lineup is going to be in Captain America.
Yeah.
This is like, is this the biggest downgrade ever?
It's gonna bring even
Okay.
seeing Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. I still feel like it's gonna be a tier down. Like they're gonna reel it back in. I mean, even Tim Blake Nelson is supposed to be the rumored big bad, and he was in the Hulk, which was probably the lowest grossing Marvel movie they had.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be tough.
And if you didn't see the Falcon Winter Soldier show, do you even know that? What's his name?
Well, we know
Anthony Mackie,
Anthony
the
Mackie
Falcon.
is Falcon is Captain America now.
Yeah.
we technically know he's Cap because we got the little preview at the end game. I think it does have a struggle with this. I don't really know how much Deadpool is going to impact it because in the end, I mean, no matter what you want to do, Deadpool has always existed in his own little universe.
That's true.
And even though they've tied it in with this by bringing it into the MCU, they kind of crapped all over it by bringing in the non-MCU people to into Deadpool and Wolverine. So I think I'll be really surprised if they bring Deadpool more in line with the MCU, like integrate it with as much.
Right.
So I think this one's going to have more of a battle, just mainly, again, partly because a lot of people haven't watched Falcon Winter Soldier, which they should. It's a great show. My hope is that and from what I've seen there, they seem to be leaning into it, is more towards the Captain America Winter Soldier vibe, instead of going for Civil War, which was more of a, the Russos kind of leaning into what was going to happen with Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they're going to kind of bring it back in, because right after that we get Thunderbolts. And I will say Thunderbolts looks great as well too.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, it makes me wonder on the release schedule. Like, if I was thinking about it in the way that you're thinking about it, Mario, just like how do you follow this up? I feel like it would have made more sense to go with Thunderbolts, because that's kind of like the ragtag, like the Guardians of the Galaxy that kind of came out of nowhere
And it's
after
new,
that first
it's
one.
new.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Something new.
Yeah, so even the people that are in there that were part of the series or the films you didn't see, you just kind of like, okay, now what is going to happen here? I felt like that would have been better, but maybe they think that film's going to do better. That's why they're releasing that one on that coveted first weekend in May that launches the summer, and they're going with Falcon, in February. But like for the next Deadpool movie, maybe that would have made sense to flip-flop them. But
Falcon was originally going to be this year. That was kind of the original thing, and then it got pushed back. I think part of it ties into their strategy, which I do agree with, even though I'm going to miss having all the stuff, is to scale back.
You have
and to not have so much, because you dilute. And I think the Marvels was a great example of that. I really enjoyed the Marvels movie, but Captain Marvel is my favorite character. So of course I'm kind of already a mark for that. But you did stretch it out you needed to have watched WandaVision and Miss Marvel to understand who these people were. And so luckily with Falcon and Winter Soldier, you kind of already know who those characters are because you've already seen them in the movies. So I think that one won't be as much of a stretch. I'll be more interested to see how they do with Thunderbolts, because with that, granted, you had to have seen the Black Widow movie and you know who Bucky is, but some of these other characters really only got fleshed out on some of the TV shows as well too.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see but I like the fact that they seem to be scaling back. And I really don't know if they're that worried about Deadpool overshadowing, because in the end, Deadpool is going to overshadow everything. It's what a Deadpool movie does.
Yeah.
Deadpool was overshadowing Marvel movies when he wasn't even in the MCU. So
That's
I think
true.
now that they have that in their toolbox, I really don't know if they're worried about it, just because in the end it's going to be its own kind of thing. My hope is that they're kind of leaning into what made them successful in the beginning, is like, let's just focus on what we're good at and try to push that forward instead of trying to compete with everything else we're putting out.
I don't even know if I want, like, thinking back and going through, like, and I still haven't even started What If Season 3. I'm to the point now of just, scale those back, because I don't even know if maybe Loki was the only one that the series that you're like, that you felt gravitated, like WandaVision felt like feels like forever ago. And I know with Agatha all along. They try to like that was another one that like let's boil it back to basics. But the problem they're having here now is the sprawl. I mean, when was the last time we even seen Shang-Chi? Was that 2021? And he was supposed to be like a huge part of this, and we haven't seen him. Like people are forgetting all about these great characters that they had a shot at, and I don't know. I want them to go. And Mario, we talked about this a while ago. Like, just go back to like if you're gonna have it, just make it a TV special, even if it's just like an hour long about the character, and then that's it. We didn't need all those episodes of Moon Knight. She-Hulk was a great character that kind of like people now hate because they didn't like the show. Like you could have just had a special, like these hour specials. I watched the Guardian holiday special and I watch Werewolf by Night every year. Every year at Halloween I watch Werewolf by Night, and every Christmas I watch the Guardian special, and it's like 45 minutes. And that's enough. That's probably all we need. Like they haven't made a compelling enough show like The Penguin to justify 6 episodes, 8 episodes. I mean, even I watched all of Agatha all along, and guess what? It could have been way shorter. It could have been way shorter.
Yeah. I think my point is
Man Thing. Yeah, where is Man Thing? Man Thing was great.
I feel that Deadpool and Wolverine was just a milestone in the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, their series of films, where I think from there on, the expectation of what people are going to think they're going to get when they go has changed. And you go into these standard Marvel movies now that are not packed with cameos, that are not, packed with, Easter eggs and things of that nature, and also are not as funny.
Yeah.
When you now that you serve these back up, this is are they still going to be hungry for this? I feel like we're exceptions to the rule. We're going to go see whatever, and we're gonna give it a chance. But I mean, the casual moviegoer, they go back after they love Deadpool and Wolverine. Joe Walmart goes to see the new Captain America. Is it going to connect?
Yeah.
And then after that, you've got Fantastic Four, which we know nothing about. But man, I got a bad feeling about it, honestly. We'll see. We're going to try and be positive, but I just get bad feelings from that. I don't know.
Well, I think part of the problem is what we saw at the end of Endgame 2. You have this huge, just dynamic blockbuster that just ticks every box.
Exactly.
And then how do you follow up with that? And
they struggled with that.
Yeah, they struggled with it because they were trying to try out because they knew that it was like Thanos. There were finite resources. We've only got Downey for this much. We've only got Hemsworth and Evans and all this for so much. So we've got to start bringing in this new stuff. And I think the thing that bothers me a little bit too is like, Shang-Chi is a great movie.
Yeah.
It's really great and it's well done. And people didn't care about it because it's not a character they knew. But you can say the same thing about Iron Man and Captain America and Thor. Nobody knew who the hell those people were. You can say, oh, I've always been a fan. No, you haven't. You're a liar. Nobody knew who anybody was except for the huge, diehard comic nerds.
Right.
And now they're household names. And so I really don't know what they can do, honestly, because Shang-Chi could have been up there, and people didn't respond to it, and that's kind of
It only made $500 million.
Yeah, and that's kind of the struggle that all these movies have had since then. Is that I don't know if it could be superhero fatigue, or it could just be that audiences are just so unwilling to try new stuff that they aren't willing to give these things a chance. Which I think is one of the reasons why they're kind of leaning into the Captain America side of this with Sam. Is they've kind of set it up a little bit, and they're trying to kind of show that he is going to be the new Captain America, which he is in the comics. But they've got 2 more Avengers films they're going to be setting up, and they're also wanting to bring in the new Avengers as well too. And so it's a lot to do, and I think it's one of the reasons why we're seeing Downey come back and now possibly Chris Evans come back.
They're all coming back.
It's because they need that kind of star power to kind of. To maybe be a bridge, almost like almost because they didn't really pass off the torch like they should have done, and so now they're going to use these movies as a way of kind of doing that, of kind of passing off the torch a little bit almost kind of like how the Rundown, like having Arnold tap the Rock on the shoulder and say "you're in" kind of thing.
Yeah, I think they that's one of the biggest things that they created. And speaking of the pass offs, Andre the Giant once just said to Macho Man Randy Savage, "No baby oil." I'm going to say it in the same voice. No more origin stories. I think origin stories are done. You can't do origin stories the way you do it, and I think people are not gravitating to them anymore. It's a more complex audience that have a lot more information at their fingertips. Do we really need to see a standard origin story spill out the way that we've been trained, like the first, Richard Donner Superman? Do we need these origin stories anymore, or do we just jump right in like Robert Pattinson or like James Gunn is going to do with Superman? You're just like, I'm just jumping right in. I don't think origin stories work anymore because I don't think people have the capacity to sit through a 2.5-hour origin story that's just going to be about one of these heroes after sitting through something like Deadpool and Wolverine. You know who did a really good origin story in 2024 was Bob Marley, the Bob Marley movie. The way they did it is just like they kind of spilled it out in real time, and then as something was happening, he kind of remembered back, and then he went back. But they had this compelling story that was going on in this time period from when he got shot to when he got diagnosed, and it was kind of in there, but then they kept jumping back to the origin story. So I don't know if they did that with the Bob Dylan movie, Mario, you just said it, but I don't think, not only for superheroes, I think origin stories are really tough to do in 2025, and Marvel probably needs to just like scrap them or come up with a creative way to tell the origin story of someone.
Well, they can do it with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man just gets dumped into Civil War, and he's already been Spider-Man for a while.
Right, exactly.
But granted, that is a character that everyone knows the origin. That's why it worked for Pattinson, too. Like, everyone knows, I swear to God, if we see one more shot of the fucking pearls dropping from his mother, we all know how it happens. And so I think that with those older characters like that, everyone knows it already. So it's going to be a fine balance because there are going to be some people who you're not going to have any idea. I thought that was one of the clever things they did with Shang-Chi, is you tell his origin through flashbacks as he's progressing along the story.
That's the way to do it.
You don't see it happen in the beginning, and then it just turns out he learns how to be Shang-Chi. He's doing all of this, and you're getting those glimpses to his origin throughout the movie.
That's the way to do it. I know this, the biggest movie pop kind of took us down a Marvel PSA.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had any more awards that we were going to do. Did you have any more queued up?
Well, I mean, just my biggest movie pop, just so you know, goes to The Substance.
Oh, yeah.
Which part of The Substance?
B-Rose, did you see The Substance yet?
I haven't yet, but God, that is one of probably 4 or 5 that I am dying to see.
Do you know about it? Do you know what happens?
Oh yeah, I know the gist of the story. I just want to see it because I'm such a huge Demi Moore fan, and all I've heard is just how breathtaking her performance is.
Oh, she's this is her comeback year. This is her John Travolta and Pulp Fiction year for sure.
This is like again, this is the pop for this for me is what happens in this movie is everything in it is just pushed up to 11, right? Yeah. You know the colors, the cinematography, everything is just it's just maximum intensity. Like when you put the intensity on a light, it's just it's hard as they can push it. So much so that that's sort of like the aesthetic, right? Everything, like people were complaining, like because there's so many shots of Margot Qualley's behind in this movie, right?
Yeah.
But it just goes on and on. He's like, oh wait, no, we're actually saying something here. Anyways, this movie continues to build and build, and you get it. You know you understand the morality fable that's happening here. You get the body horror. You're in it. But this movie just there's a part where it's just like you think it's over. Lesson learned. We know what we're supposed to get from this, and it pushes this lesson so far that it's. I was just like cheering this on, okay. As I don't want to tell you what happens at the end of the movie because I can't spoil it. If another day we could talk about it, but it never lets up with its sort of like messaging at the end. It goes so hard and it's so gross. This movie made me squirm more than Terrifier 3. For sure.
And I did not expect that. When you said that, you're like, oh, I squirmed as much as I did in Terrifier 3.
This movie is like endlessly memeable. I think it's gonna be like it become like a movie that just sort of becomes a staple for the time and place it came out in. You like Fight Club in '99. This is that movie for 2024.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Man, there's just, again, another shout out to another alum from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to steal the scenes like that and go toe to toe with the very vulnerable Demi Moore. I'm curious how much was real and how much was Memorex on there, because they went for it. But also, man, Dennis Quaid just eating crawdads or shrimp or whatever he was eating, that part itself like kind of like sticks, that part, my God. Like, what a heel just in that alone. If you just saw that alone, just like the close-ups and the Foley of the like all the shrimp, like, and it was very telling of just like how Hollywood takes these juicy people and then just sucks all the juices out of them.
Ditches their carcass. Exactly. The messaging is so over the top. It's just there where, like, if this were in the hands of like somebody less skilled, this is obviously a really skilled director, it would just it wouldn't work at all.
No,
it'd be silly.
It's giving me very Denethor eating the tomatoes vibe.
Who is Joel Haver?
Yeah, I Googled him and it's just a picture of him flipping us off. So. But no, there's so many movies this year, and the Substance is right at the top of the list that really does give you hope for cinema, where people, there's just like, go look. I mean, you had Longlegs, you had The Substance this year. I mean, there were so many good movies that kind of came out that would just kind of blow you away.
Well, every year they say it, and anyone who says it any year that where are all the good movies, you're just not looking.
Yeah. Oh,
that's just, you can't just go to, Cinemark.com and see what's showing, and then that's it. You have to, like, some of these you have to find, and that's part of the joy of a good movie, is finding and discovering it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a blast at that movie Saturday night. There's just like, those guys, look at the carcasses. Yeah, I don't. Do you think he had a big enough role in there to get the award, Dennis Quaid?
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, I think he had a really good. I don't know that he'll get the. He's kind of a heel now, so I don't know that he'll get the nod from the Academy. I don't think he got the Golden Globe nod either. But definitely a memorable part. That was originally written for Ray Liotta. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, Ray Liotta would have been great in that too.
Yeah. Lost him before they could film that, but he was really great in it. So good. Just, yeah, I love that movie so much.
I'm excited for Sunday, the Golden Globes, because I know a lot of these movies that we're talking about, I think Hollywood is gonna give them their dues, and she's due. Like, I'd love to see, you got to see a good comeback story. I mean, we love Bruce Willis, and she's kind of been going through it with him, and I hate seeing those reels, but I mean, it's just to see your hero struggling like that, and she's kind of right there. I think there's a standing ovation in her future to be putting out such a strong performance during a very.
I think she'll get the rub for at least a nomination for Oscar. I don't know. I mean, like the Academy doesn't like to give awards to horror films, and this movie also sort of is critical of Hollywood and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think she'll at least get a nomination, because just that scene where she's attempting to go out on a normal date with a normal guy.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's just, I mean, like, you see people talking about on Twitter and how moved they are and just like so they identify with that part,
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and it's a very squirmy movie, not just for the gross aesthetics, but it just also just makes you feel uncomfortable with mirrors.
A lot of mirrors.
Yeah, a lot of mirrors.
Anyway,
I'm gonna give a quick pop, but I'm not gonna say much about it. But yeah, I guess it'll be the biggest pop, but the biggest pop in the sense that it was just like, it was anger. So the anger was, the pop was me screaming, "Come on!" when the acolyte hit the screen, and just like to be so. I mean, just for him to come off Squid Games and get thrown in this piece of shit, and just like, and this was going to be Keanu Reeves. Like, this was legit going to be Keanu Reeves. I think he would have just took a black eye, but this show was an abomination. This show was everything that you hate about Hollywood. It's like, what if you take everything that you hate about Hollywood and put it with Star Wars and just throw it in there and just jam it down your throat, to the point where it's just like the show was more about creating divide versus entertaining and good stories. And this has nothing to do with, I don't even get into the whole, I was kind of dense in the sense of the whole, the woke versus the no. I didn't know what it was. And this was the first time that it really felt like, wait, are you yelling at me? Like, did I feel like that a TV show was like yelling at me? And just to be such a huge Star Wars fans and to take what we were just talking about, right? It's pretty easy to go back and have the backstory for something like Star Wars because everybody knows about it. Like, why would you just take all that and just throw it in the garbage to lose like your hardcore fan base for what? Like, for absolute what? And then to me, entertainment, last I checked, entertainment was supposed to be including fun. And this show became not fun because it became more about the people fighting about the show and more than the story. Like, I don't even know what the story was about. Like, it threw me off. And here's the set. And this was more evident in the sequel trilogy. There are great characters, and you can even say that there are good characters that you could extract out of the show, but I don't think the actors and the characters were the problem. I think the writing was the problem. It was just a shit story for something that everybody loved, and you had a wide open canvas to say, okay, this is a part of Star Wars you didn't know. Skeleton Crew is on right now, and that's a blast. That is literally Goonies in space. It's having fun. It's not even acknowledging. It's just like, this is another pocket of the universe. John Webb, he's doing it right. This one is just like, I'm going to make you pay for enjoying this show and these movies as a kid. And just like, it was just so angry. And I think what we're just like, we had Amanda on here. We were very excited about this show. Like, we've never seen anything like this. And this just had so much potential. And man, it just like, it just made me angry. I popped in the other direction. And me being the completist, I don't know how to abandon a show. I don't know how. I wish I did. If somebody out there can help me, if there's a 12-step program to teach me to say, I'm not going to watch this anymore, I don't know how to do it. So that means I limped through every one of these episodes, and it was just sad. I mean, I love, I don't know how to say his name, but I just finished Squid Games 2. He was great. It had nothing to do with the performances or the actors. It was just like, it was somebody who knew nothing about the lore and the story and just said, oh, it must mean this. And like, no. But I mean, Kathleen Kennedy said it best when she's like, we're not like comic book movies. We don't have, a lot of source material to go to. Like, that's disgusting that you are running the most profitable IP of all time, and for you to say that you don't have lore to lean on, have you been paying attention? You've had lore since Hardware Wars. There's so much you can lean on. But yeah, don't even. I don't know, B Rose, if you saw this. I know Mario didn't.
Let me show you an image of the Star Wars IP as it stands right now. This is exactly why the Acolyte didn't work for you.
I mean, how do you screw that up, man? Like,
I think it's easy. They've sucked all the marrow and juice out of it, and now it's all just empty husks impersonating a Star Wars idea. Again, this IP Number one, it should have never become a television show. Sorry. Star Wars was never meant to be a TV show. That's why Lucas never did it.
No.
Okay? He shot that pilot, the Star Wars Underground or whatever it's called.
Underground.
Which I think is available on YouTube somewhere. You watch it, it's like, oh, this is a bad idea. And now there's 50 Star Wars shows. TV shows and movies do not really cross over well. It's a thing. And once Star Wars became a television show, it has downgraded itself, and it's going to be hard, really hard, to ever get another Star Wars movie off the ground.
Well, I think they've run into the same problem that Marvel did. Is they came out of the back. We basically said we're going to try TV, and right off the bat, they do a great job.
Yeah.
And because of that, they get a false sense of confidence that we're doing this right. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Remember, we were all locked in our houses when those dropped. So
Yeah, the first two Mandalorians. Yeah.
But I mean, like Mandalorian, the first season is a great show. WandaVision was a great show.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing them basically saying, all right, we can do this again, and not asking, can we do this again? They just had the confidence, oh, we can do this. And then you start seeing them focusing on quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Because it's not that you can't do a good Star Wars show. It's you have to actually put the work and the effort into it. It's not like you're just have this IP and you could write a story and like, all right, well, we're going to put Star Wars on it. They'll buy it. It just doesn't work that way. The same thing with Marvel. You can't just make a show and, all right, we'll put him in that superhero outfit and we'll just slap that logo on it. You have to do the legwork to actually make it valuable.
It's the cinema to TV paradox. Okay? A movie, a TV show based on a movie always feels like a downgrade of that movie.
Traditionally, yeah, that's been true, yeah.
And I think that a movie based on a TV show always feels like less of a movie. You know? It just doesn't feel it doesn't feel like it's of the same caliber. For some reason. I didn't make the rules. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And now Star Wars is lost in this whole, I don't know what. It doesn't know what it is.
No, you're right.
Well, I think also too, TV does allow you to do some things that movies don't. I don't think Andor works as a movie, but it works really well as a TV show because it's not part of the main linear storytelling.
That's what you need.
The same way Rogue One worked. Rogue One worked because even though it was a movie, it wasn't trying to like quote unquote fit in that main narrative Skywalker storyline, if you will.
Yeah.
It was like hey, do you remember when we mentioned this before? Well, here's what happened. And the TV show, like Andor, does a really good job of like, hey, you remember that place? Well, this is what happened. And you kind of Mandalorian was a little bit different, but that's what they're trying to do. And instead of I just think that they're focusing too much on what else can we put out Star Wars.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to find something that might. I mean, if you look at the Star Wars video games, those are phenomenal.
Oh, people, linear
storylines that you could adapt to movies or TV, but they haven't. And especially as well as we're doing with video games to TV shows, I would love to see a Star Wars video game with Cal Kestis made into a TV show.
Yeah. Yep.
I would like to see a Star Wars movie where I don't have to know a bunch of other bullshit. That I can just enjoy it by itself.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that comes out next year, that's going to be really telling, right? Because that was written, that was going to be another season, and I think they got Mario's notes, and they're like, you know what? We probably have to get back into theaters like ASAP.
And that's right now, that's their strongest property.
That is.
So they're going to give it a shot. Will folks buy it? Maybe. I think if they can get kids, on the Baby Yoda train to go to the cinema.
It's what they did with Moana. Moana 2 was supposed to be a show, and now it's a movie.
Pedro's getting no face. Is he going to get FaceTime in it? I don't know. We'll see.
You're right.
What other cameos are we going to get in there? That's what's going to make this work or not. Without any first tier cameos, I think it could be a struggle.
I'd like to see. And you need somebody, like you said, that balances the cameos and stories what we were just talking about. And I think the best person that I know Favreau's doing it, but I'd love to see Bryce Dallas Howard get a swing at a full-length Star Wars movie, because I just watched her episode of Skeleton Crew, and man, it was a blast. Again, it's a kid's show. Like, make no mistake, you don't need any lore, you don't need anything other when you know that this is taking place in the Star Wars universe. But if you liked Goonies as a kid, you're going to get nostalgic when you watch Skeleton Crew. And then if I was at the right age for the Skeleton Crew feeling, I think I would be having, and I'm having fun. Like, it's a fun little show where the stakes are very low, and I'm enjoying it. But she did a great job with her episodes of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
She did a great job with her episodes of Ahsoka. And now she did it with Skeleton Crew. And then she's freaking Ron Howard's daughter. Give her the reins and let her take a swing at a movie, because I think her dad has instilled to her that story above all. By the way, did you guys recognize when I did my anti-pop? That was from a movie in 2024 that I just want to give a shout out because it was a great movie. You got it? Did you get it?
Which one?
Did you get it? When I said, come on! No. Challengers. Got to just give a shout out to Challengers.
Oh, Challengers is great.
Challengers was another movie that Mario said, you should go see Challengers. And I was like, it's like a weird, like, everyone knew it from like the weird three-way thing going on. But I was like, no, this is like an intense tennis movie that talk about another movie that took non-linear storytelling and jumped all over the place. Did you see this yet, B-Rose?
I saw it, yeah.
Oh man, it was so good. So freaking good. And I had no idea how intense this movie was going to be and how much I was going to enjoy it. So
Really good sports movie.
it really was. Like, I had
People are there for the relationship drama, but it's a good sports movie, one of the better ones. And it really, the way they shot the tennis, God bless them for that, made tennis look fun.
It did. Yeah, everything about I only knew it from that
Soundtrack, that hard EDM soundtrack.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what really did it too. Was just like so intense, and it's just like, if you just put story in there and like let the directors do their thing, but like all this was just like, oh, that's the picture where that you had Zendaya on the bed with those two dudes. That's all I knew about this movie, but somehow it was about tennis. But then when you see that picture of them on the bed, man, it makes so much sense. And then it also another movie that plays with your perception of what you think you're going to get and then what you actually get. And this was another one that did it. So I just didn't want to end on an angry rant. So I just pivoted to Challengers.
Challenge is solid. Good stuff. All right, I think we're getting high on time here, so I got a couple more things in the queue.
All right.
We'll just go over. You got anything else to say about Star Wars?
No. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, real quick, you wanted to mention this. I put it in here for one of your also biggest pops was for Fantastic Fest 2024.
Yes. Again, this was another one that you've been recommending to me for years. You got to go to Fantastic Fest. You got to go to Fantastic Fest. And luckily, because of this channel, we were given a unique opportunity to go experience Fantastic Fest from a little bit of both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And it is an endurance test. And Brian, I highly suggest that it's September 18th. It kicks off this year. I highly suggest you do it because it's going to blow you away in the sense of like, you had no idea how much you need to see these movies that you probably never even heard of. Because you got the high stuff that, the premieres, like Halle Berry this year, and then you have the stuff that, like Baby Assassins, that you didn't know was coming. So September 18th through September 25th, mark your calendars. It's worth it. And get some energy drinks, space out the Alamo food and how you eat, and you're not going to sleep. I mean, you're going to be watching movies at midnight and you're going to be watching movies at 8 a.m. And even though you're tired, you love it.
I was just thinking about how many movies that I saw there that still have not come out yet,
Yeah.
And I don't know where to watch them again. I wanted to watch Escape from the 21st Century again.
Oh, that was another one that was so good.
And then you were telling me, what was that one called?
Dead Talent Societies on Mubi.
Yeah, I want to see that again.
Yeah.
I want to see the end of Chainsaws Were Singing.
Oh, yeah.
We missed the end of that. But like anyway,
I watched it on my phone between movies at the steak and shake because I'm like, I got to squeeze this in somehow because you're like, what was it? I got like 21 movies. It was great. Like it's like 3 movies a day. Like if you think you're a movie fan, this is a test of stamina.
I still you need to see Ick. You didn't get to see Ick.
I did not get to see
you're gonna
Ick.
love that one. Yeah, definitely a must do.
B-Rose, and I'm telling you, like we found the perfect positioning, and like Halle Berry was just like right there, like right there.
That was like the first screening. No, that was the second one.
Yeah, it was just so good. But I've never spent I get like flashbacks now when I go back to Alamo, South Lamar. That you're like, this is where it happened.
Yeah,
like I don't think I told you this story. I was standing there, and you're already so fatigued. The power move was I got an Airbnb very close, so I didn't have to keep commuting. So that way you can rest. But I was just so out of it between movies, and I'm sitting at a bar table, and I'm seeing this dude like flipping on his phone, and people go by, and they were like fist bumping him, and it just didn't hit me, and I'm just so tired. And another person took a picture, and I'm like, oh man. And then he got up and just walked away, and like he was like right next to me the entire time. And then somebody's like, man, I love Nick Frost. And I'm like, that was Nick Frost? And I'm just sitting right there. And I was just like so movie punch drunk that I didn't even realize that you're just rubbing shoulders with they're just like right there. Like the line for the restroom, and just like, I was like, that guy like looks super dressed up. And it was just like, it was Corey Feldman. And he was just like walking there. It's just like everything about it was just like so good. And everybody's there. Like I know they're, the angry nerd crowd is there too, but everybody's there because they're fans, and you can feel that, and that's what made
films.
it. Yeah, because they love films, and it was worth it. So September 18th through September 25th, 2025.
I still remember we were shooting our Terrifier 3 after post review, and we're filming it on the phone, very casually, very poorly. Poor quality, and like Mike Flanagan was like in the back of our frame trying to get out. I think he thought we were trying to sneakily film him or something.
Yeah, remember when George Lucas accidentally stepped into that guy's
that got shot
into that documentary? That was pretty much it, and that was like at 3 a.m. Like you're just there around the clock. But yeah, shout out to Fantastic Fest this year's the 25th anniversary too. So I'm sure it's gonna be a biggie.
Here's another just a short pop. This is just like did y'all see Love Lies Bleeding? I thought it was a lot of fun.
No, yeah, this one I want to watch.
It feels like this movie. I really dug it because it made me feel like it was a '90s independent cinema again. It really pulls off that vibe. Katie O'Brien's awesome. It's crazy. You watch this movie and then you see what they gave her to do in Twisters. Huge difference. This is and I think a lot of people did not like the ending, which you can go. Me personally, I loved it. I think it subverted your expectations. The turn it took. Check it out on cable. And the last thing here on the list, and we're gonna say, I don't know. I'm gonna give this the culture pop award, right? Because I feel like this one really invaded everybody's psyche, and just sort of. Now it's like an iconic sort of thing, but
I swear if it's Madam Web, I'm going to throw something.
No, it's Long Legs.
Oh yeah.
You see Long Legs, B-Rose?
I have not seen this yet.
Oh man,
I have heard nothing but craziness from everybody who's seen it, though.
Man, it creates a vibe, and it just lets Nicolas Cage be his most Nicolas Cage, but it's also still not what you expect from him, if that makes any sense at the same time. Because he always goes for it, but also he kind of went for it this one, but it also went like, wow, you just didn't really expect it. Talk about an eerie feeling of just like watching everything about like him being around. You just feel creeped out.
Yeah, the way it's shot, the music, the whole feel of it, and it's got like those religious overtones, which I love in horror movies. I think you should watch it, B-Rose. You'll enjoy it. But I just think it created a whole new memeable horror character.
Yeah.
Well, I love watching crazy, insane Nicolas Cage regardless. Yeah. Even when he's doing something serious, like Pig is a great movie.
Oh God! Yeah.
But then half that movie, you're like, what is going on? Like how? Like he's just being, Nicolas Cage. So I'm always any Nicolas Cage I'm on board for, except maybe like Left Behind. Nicolas Cage.
Is he in that one?
He's in. He did a remake of it.
I mean,
yeah.
he had taxes to pay.
Yeah, exactly. Those are straight to DVD. Nick Cage, I'm not a huge fan of, but.
Well, there you go.
That's him. Well, and just if anybody's listening, we need to up the ante a little bit for the next December 2025 movie season. I feel like we're jam packed in, and then we hit the end of the year, and it's just like it was just like, oh, I was just like, okay, I went and saw Wicked. Didn't get to see Nosferatu, and I feel like, is there anything else that was kind of memorable that came out?
At the end of the
in December?
I don't know.
I'm going to go see the Lord of the Rings anime. I'm going to see that one.
That one just kind of snuck in, right? That wasn't not a lot of fanfare. Like a lot of people didn't show up for it too, and I feel like this was a big animation and family movie holiday, and we didn't really get all that much. I mean, I think Wicked is probably thankful for that because they had a lot of repeat viewings, and that's not easy for almost 3-hour long movie. And then at the end, they started doing ones that were like, yes, this one is a sing along. No, this one's not a sing along. I liked it more than I thought it was gonna. I didn't see the show, but like, I wasn't gonna go back and see it 3 times, right? But yeah, we need to up the ante next Christmas. It used to be like 6 movies would come out on Christmas Day, and it just didn't happen. It's just like, sorry, you're just gonna have to watch Moana or Wicked again. Yep. Sorry.
Well, hopefully we won't have a year full of strikes again as well too. So.
Yeah, I think that's probably had a lot to do with it too. But I don't know box office wise how it looks, but it was still a very, very fun year at the movies for sure.
Squid Game saved Christmas though.
Yeah, Squid Games. Did you guys enjoy Squid Game? Are you guys done? Through 2?
Season 2, yeah. I mean, of course, typical Netflix. They're only giving us half a season and calling it season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
Well, they've already announced season 3 is going to be this year.
Yeah, this is breaking news. June 27th, 2025, Squid Games season 3 drops.
Okay.
So we don't even have to wait 6 months.
Yeah.
Still too long for me.
I haven't watched it yet, but I just got home a few days ago and I've been working. So this weekend's going to be my weekend to catch up on stuff.
I will tell you that it's just like, yeah, I feel like they create more characters that you're going to be drawn to. Like, I think we had that. I don't know if you guys had that in Squid Game season 1, that like you knew that there's a chance that most of these people might not make it, but you liked them enough that you wanted to make it. I feel like this year they have way more of those characters that you're like, oh no, I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see them not make it.
Now you know that in the end they're not messing around. Like one person is going to survive. So because in the first season you're like, all right, maybe some of them might make it out. Maybe there'll be like some ties or things like that. And you know that's not the case. So now you're watching it and you're like, as soon as you get introduced to someone, you're like, all right, well, this is going to suck.
Yeah. No, they did a great job. I did enjoy it. But yeah, you're right. Netflix is definitely playing with how their release schedule. Maybe they don't have enough content or those heavy hitters. But they do have Stranger Things and another Squid Games queued up this year. But I would still say Apple Plus has better overall content, even though way less. But like you said, Netflix is basic cable.
Yeah. I don't like the way they've been splitting up their seasons. I don't appreciate it. It breaks too long. Like, I understand that they're trying to stretch it out and increase the amount of Cobra Kai finale. But I mean, the Cobra Kai season 3 is 3 parts. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And if you're gonna break it up like that, at least make it a reasonable amount of time in between. I think 6 months, way too much. Like, Squid Games was 7 episodes. Okay, give us 7 weeks off to watch the episodes, then give us the rest.
Yeah,
that should be enough. And then just do your marketing push in that 7 weeks. That's gotta work, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't watch all of Squid Games in like one day?
I definitely, for being a longer show, I popped it out way faster than it was enough that I just got pulled in.
And I just feel like it annoys me so much. You know, you want to reach the end of a show and have a good feeling, sense of completion at least.
Yeah.
And it just kind of leaves you hanging,
Yes.
even though it's a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But you make me wait 6 months. That's crazy.
I mean, man, remember back in the day when we had Who Shot JR and you had to wait so long? I don't think our brains aren't trained for that anymore.
I don't even think it was that long though.
Yeah.
I don't even think
It
was
just
as long.
felt that long.
It was the end of one season to the beginning of the other. It's not, yeah.
So it's
And plus,
probably
they used to make like
May
24,
to September.
Right. They used to make like 24 episodes of a show a year.
Well, we're sitting on how many years now since Stranger Things season 4 ended?
Yeah.
It's like, just give me the new show
The
already.
kids are all in college.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Anyway.
Oh, I missed Craze there. So the Modern Horror Avengers, the Grabber from Black Phone, Cage from Long Legs, Terrifier, who else you calling Fight Thanos? That just goes to show, which I probably calling Art the Clown to fight Thanos because that would be awesome. But
Madam Web.
Madam Web, I called it here, and then shout out to Hyperreal Film Club. I said one day Madam Web is going to be cosplayed midnight screenings, and it's already begun way sooner than I expected.
Yeah.
But I think horror is firing on all cylinders. We're getting a lot of unique characters that are just becoming very compelling, like getting pulled into. I don't know if A24 and Blumhouse kind of trained us on that, but just that you can go through that list, it just goes to show. And we got another Black Phone coming as well, so we're going to see the Grabber again. But I just feel like horror is doing very well, and it's like more highbrow than it's ever been.
Yeah, you can, Cray, you can add Count Orlok to that list.
All right. Yeah, that would be good. But yeah, I think that's a show, right?
Dude, yeah, we're almost 3 hours here.
Yeah, we haven't done a long one here in a while.
Yeah.
It's always with me. I always bring the long episodes.
All of a sudden, we're the Joe Rogan show. Ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so enjoy.
2025.
There's a lot of good stuff coming out in 2025, so I look forward to talking about that next year as well. But we got Hard Eyes and Companion and Wolfman, which is why I'm growing the beard, like right out of the great boom, boom, boom. We got a lot of great things coming in 2025, so it's going to be our regular PSA. Go to theaters. It's worth it. I know sometimes it's nice to stay home, but guess what? Sometimes we do both. We're quantum like that.
All right, folks.
All right. See you next time.